Jar is a key to all this. If we get Jar Jar working, because he's a funnier character than we've ever had in the movies before. I may have gone too far in a few places.
And welcome, we are live, we are here, we are open, everything's open. Welcome to the Swholli, Packers first, it doesn't matter, Packer and Swholli podcast. I am your host, Swholli, Scott Hollingsworth, and with us as always...
It's Glenn Packer, that's me.
Hi.
It's me.
It's me. So obviously we didn't go live last week because here in America it was Labor Day and I got drunk and high off my butthole, so I was like, I don't want to do shit this week.
Good job.
Yeah, so...
All you said to me was like, it's Labor Day, dude, and I'm like, that's meant to mean something to me?
I was like, that American holiday, Labor Day.
Yeah, that one that like, and I'm like, yeah, even if it's a holiday, is it like some sort of anti-religious thing to work on Labor Day? Like, what's happening right now?
So, it's... I know we're not going to do politics on this podcast, but basically... oh, no, how come this isn't...
Political, non-political podcast.
Yeah. But essentially what Labor Day is here in America is it is a holiday that is meant for the working class to appreciate their time off. And I think the biggest irony, of course, is that as the heavier corporatization and capitalism, late stage capitalism takes over. For example, on the Sunday before Labor Day, we were getting phone calls saying, "So what are your Labor Day hours tomorrow?" And the biggest irony being that we aren't here. We're closed. It's Labor Day. Do you think I'm going to be here doing labor? Like, you're off. Why do I not get to be off? So that's the funny thing. It's like Thanksgiving here. Like, our Thanksgiving has become that, where it's like it's supposed to be a day where you spend with your family and like do shit, but it's like, nah, the grocery stores are open. Go get your last minute turkeys. You don't give a shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where, it's the same here in Australia, like, oh, this is a day off, and it's like, well, actually, this is a day off for a lot of people, so this is an only opportunity to go get things, so there's a certain aspect of, like, oh, I have finally a day off, I can do something, but it's, of course, the day where everything's, like, nothing's happening.
Right.
So, I mean, there's arguments for both sides, but, like, yeah, it is one of those crazy things where it's, like, the expectation that, like, you're going to be open, it shouldn't be there.
Right, especially on a holiday called Labor Day. I think that was, to me, like, what the biggest, like, irony is, like, calling a business and saying, what are your Labor Day hours? We are closed. We are celebrating the holiday for labor. But,
yeah.
But yeah, so basically here in America we don't do shit on Labor Day, and it wasn't that I couldn't have done anything, it was that I was intoxicated the entire day, so,
fair enough.
I get very few days where I get to spend the entire day doing something like that, so, yeah.
Yeah, that's all good, man. That's fair enough. Like, it was just you literally gave me, like, a single sentence, like, it's Labor Day, and I'm like... Alright, dude, yeah, you do whatever the fuck. It's like me saying, like, it's the Queen's birthday. And you'd be like, what? What do you mean it's the Queen's birthday? Dude, it's the Queen's birthday. It's a day off, right?
Like, do you even have a queen?
Yeah, we're still a part of the Commonwealth.
Are you really?
Yeah. Why do you think the Union Jack is still on our flag?
Oh, okay. I guess I never really
nostalgia.
I never really thought about it.
Jack for nostalgia. Oh, Americans, you make me laugh. Dude, it doesn't have stars and stripes on it. What is that?
I'm just flashing "It's Labor Day" across the
It's Labor Day.
It's Labor Day.
You should change it.
It was Labor Day.
It was Labor Day.
Here we go. It was oh, it doesn't fit anymore. Hang on. There we go. It was Labor Day.
Oh my god.
That's less effort than the Wizard. I'll pull up the wizard.
Yep. The wizard. Oh, I have to talk about that bumper. The intro.
Oh, yeah.
Podcast. We've got a handful of subjects I think we both want to get into, but I just want to talk about that freaking bumper. I was pissing myself laughing when I was making that. I was just like, this is so fucking funny. Like, I was just making myself laugh with all the edits and everything. Of like, God, I don't even know where I've put it. Where is this? It's like, oh God, oh there it is. Okay, here we go. So like, I just happened to find this fucking like green screen thing of like this video. It's like a Silicon Graphics monitor ad, but then they had the green screen on it, so I was like, oh, that's perfect.
Oh, I love it.
We're gonna go like a throwback to like George Lucas like making of. And I don't know if you noticed, but there's a flicker at the start. Like,
oh my god! I didn't even notice. Getting the goddamn robot.
Just because I know that this is not going to be like a thing in the future, I'm sure we're just going to keep changing the intro. But like, I just had to point that out. But yeah, the fucking face and just this Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fucking 2 movie, and then the edits, the cuts, the like.
It's beautiful.
I laugh so hard.
I love the fucking stupid turtles. That's the first time you've seen that, like, did you watch the behind the scenes of Phantom Menace? Is that where you got that?
I've seen meme clips all over the internet.
Oh, okay.
Like, if you like Google, this is Jar Jar is the center of everything.
Jar Jar's the key to all this. If we get Jar Jar working, because he's a funnier character, you know. I unfortunately have that quote like memorized. Also, it's like poetry. So it rhymes.
Yeah.
Like fuck you, George.
It's just George Lucas.
George Lucas.
Yeah, like it's really fascinating because like I watched that documentary I sent you, or not a documentary, interview. Christopher, if anyone wants to watch it, it's like George Lucas is interviewed by Christopher Nolan. So Nolan films, he did like The Dark Knight, Interstellar, what was the Dunkirk, and
the Tenet, the new thing, yeah.
I haven't seen that one yet. Want to see it, but I was just sort of like, I don't really need to go out of my way to watch it. It's funny because people are like, oh, it's such a new and unique concept for Tenet, and I'm like, dude, Red Dwarf did this like 30 years ago.
Right.
Like, I don't even know if you even know about Red Dwarf, but
I mean, I know what Red Dwarf is. Yes.
Yeah. So it's just it's the British TV comedy show and the sci-fi. But there's an episode where they finally get back to Earth, but it's in reverse time. So like they step out of he steps out of the spaceship and he has this massive black eye and all of his joints and everything start hurting. But as the episode goes along, they essentially rewind time, or the time is rewinding. So like they would start like a bar fight at the end of the episode, which is like technically start chronologically. So then he gets like the black eye sucked out of him and stuff. It's fucking hilarious. It's beautiful.
Isn't that technically like, I mean, not to the same like. But, like, isn't that fucking the same thing as what he did in fucking Memento? Like, not literally, but, like, that is a strange noise. But, not literally, but,
sorry,
like...
I was me drinking.
Because you know how Memento is the movie about the guy who wakes up and he has to live his life in reverse, and technically the movie is in, like, reverse order because we see the end event as he pieces it together going backwards. So you
he's like, I finally found this bastard. And
so you're saying he remade Memento, but with a literal backward time thing.
Are you saying in Red Dwarf, or you're talking
No,
about
I'm saying the Christopher Nolan movie Memento.
I don't know.
Have you ever seen Memento?
Point. I have seen Memento. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like spoilers. I highly recommend it. Might just go in a little bit of spoiler territory for Memento, but like that is like an amazing film. Where it's like. The guy was like, oh, I'm a cop, and I'm your friend, and I'm gonna help you find this bastard who, like, killed your wife. And then he, like, turns out like he found the dude, he killed the dude, but because of his amnesia, the cop thought his amnesia he would snap out of it. Like he would have problems anymore, finally killing his wife, like killing the guy who killed his wife. But then he doesn't, so then the cop just gives him other targets to kill.
Right.
Which is kind of like throughout the episode, he gets like tattoos, and then he gets like little bits and pieces, and then the cop explains it to him, and then he fucking just like, I fucking hate this cop guy for manipulating me, and then he writes a note to himself to kill the cop.
He gets it tattooed. Everything that he needs to remember, that's like he needs to remember it, he gets tattooed on his body.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find that. Tattoos. Because I remember he has specifically, like, there's like a date or something. Here we go. John G. raped and murdered my wife. Like, remember.
Yeah, and then he has like the license plate numbers and stuff.
Yeah. It's definitely, if you've never seen it, I know we just kind of spoiled it a little bit, but if you've never seen it, what we just said didn't necessarily do it justice. It's still definitely worth watching.
It was like Christopher Nolan's breakthrough film, wasn't it?
It was his like big break that put him on the map, as they say. If it
yeah, because it was like, it's super low budget, but like what he pulled out with it was insane. Like he had like a tiny budget, but then he created such an amazing like storytelling film.
Yeah, I know. It's definitely one of those movies that still holds up today. Despite, it was his Reservoir Dogs, essentially. Like, Tarantino makes this movie on like a micro budget and then becomes like a mega star. Like Nolan did the same thing.
Yeah. I think, Christopher Nolan has done lots of time travel, reverse time, forward time, even Interstellar, spoilers.
I guess you're right, yeah. I guess I didn't even think about it like that. He has, like,
the whole black hole thing that, like, shows through time, but you can only manipulate time through gravity. So, like, Nolan's very obsessed, well, I wouldn't say obsessed, but very intrigued by time travel and time.
Nolan has a fascination with the past.
Or the future. Yeah, time, man. He's fascinated with time. It's an interesting time. It's an interesting concept.
Okay.
I don't even know what tangent we started on, but yeah. So I made that bumper, and I thought it was fucking hilarious. I was just pissing myself laughing.
No, yeah, I love the silicon graphics. Like, I don't know where you found it, but it was perfect. Like, and then the fucking turtles, like,
just the like the music on top of it, and then it just lines up so perfectly with the music. It's beautiful.
I can't tell anybody where I got the music from because it's a secret still.
Yeah,
but it will mean something soon in someday.
Yep. Someday. 10 years from now. Yeah. So I guess we could just jump into some subjects outside of our random ass tangents.
Yeah. I mean, this should be just the show called Random Ass Tangents, but essentially, yeah.
The ADHD tangents. I mean, I had a subject. We can touch on it this time or maybe another time because my brain's been in the whole Star Wars space. But I was kind of like looking at this interview with George Lucas, and that's where the fucking subject started. George Lucas. It's interesting because a lot of people will like throw a hissy fit about him, get up in arms about him, and we sort of were actually starting to talk about this a little bit before the podcast, but then we sort of realized,
we should probably save this, but yeah.
Yeah. But essentially, like, George Lucas is really fascinating to me because he is kind of just a normal dude who got blown up out of like it blew up.
He got super lucky out of nowhere, and then it suddenly like all of his dreams came true.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, though. You listen to him in that interview, the one I was specifically talking about, the George Lucas's interview by Christopher Nolan. In fact, what are you doing? Viciously clicking.
I have to create the flashing text effect myself.
Hold on. George Lucas on the impact of Star Wars with Christopher Nolan is the title of the YouTube video. But basically, you're listening to it, and George Lucas just talks about like, I was like a car mechanic. I got into filmmaking because I liked the idea of doing all this sort of stuff. So he was more into like the artistry of it all. He wasn't necessarily into like, oh, I want to tell a story. Like, he even, like, outright says, I don't like script writing. Like, I don't like to story write.
Which is why I wrote 3 movies by myself without anyone's help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they became one of the most famous franchises of all time, so... I mean, this is the thing, though. So, like, anyway, it was just interesting listening to the interview because it humanizes him. Like, he just talks about, like, I had a shoestring budget. I was dealing with a bunch of ass clowns. Like, he was dealing with the whole producer problem of, like, producers being like, oh, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. You've got a week to do it. And it's like, dude, this is just unrealistic. This is bullshit. And then he was working on... He said at the time, which was like the British film industry, which was like he said in a sense was dying at that point.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It was just falling apart at the seams, and he's working with these people who have so many union laws that basically like, hey, we work 9 to 5 and we don't work a second afterwards, and if you do, we're gonna like turn the power off so you can't, and like all this other random. And he's like, dude, we just need to like keep going and get some shit done. It will only take an extra half hour. But then there was, like, a voting rule and all this other crap. It was really fascinating. But, like, in essence, he was just doing his thing. And then he came back and did the special edition. Because he does talk about it a little bit. And he was like, well, I made the special edition because there was just a lot of bits and pieces throughout the films that were, like... It was, you know, cutting edge at the time. We couldn't quite get it as nice as I wanted it, like, and it wasn't in the sense of like perfectionism. It was the sense of this just looks weird, or they had intended to do it, but then budget or time or whatever got in the way. Like the realities of filmmaking get in the way. I mean,
unpopular opinion. There are aspects of the special edition that I think are positive, and I think are necessary, and I understand why he made those changes. Specifically ones like, so based on how much do you know about blue screening and like what it used to be?
Oh yeah, tons. I know. There was the snow speeder scene.
Exactly. Because of the way that the chemical process used to work, and how like, you know, any blue spill, you were kind of fucking stuck with it, and you're like, so there's those snow speeder scenes where like it's fucking, you know, you can see through the speeder completely. Yeah. And you just kind of have to, like, go, all right, it's fine, it's the best we can do, because it's fucking 1980.
And like, there's a lot of stuff that he was talking about where it was like, oh, when I made this, you know, people are only going to go to movies maybe once, maybe twice. So they're never really going to pick up on this. And, like, he had the mentality of somebody who was making something before the age of the internet, before VHS even. Like, DVDs and all that sort of stuff.
Oh, yeah. So home video didn't fucking exist. You didn't fucking go... Yeah. I mean, it did, but it didn't, not to the extent that it does today, like...
Well, like, not in the 70s, it didn't.
Well, I mean, there was what? VHS was what? Very, very late 70s, I think. I mean, it cost an arm and a leg to buy a VCR, though. You had to buy, in American dollars, in 1970 American dollars, it was like $400 to buy a VHS in, like, fucking... Or, sorry, a VCR in 1970-something. Like... you know, it was not a cheap thing. Like, in today's money, that'd be like going to the store and buying a $2,000 Blu-ray player. Like, fuck. Shit.
Yeah. Like, you bought, like, every streaming service, and then you've got, like, a 4K television, and then that's, like, and then you've got the best internet, and then that's, like, the cost all put together as, like, something to just even watch one thing. For the perspective of people who might be a bit younger.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if you don't know...
It's like every internet bill, power bill, and, like, TV, biggest TV you can afford was, like, the cost of just, like, the bare minimum.
Right.
Because it was cutting edge. But yeah, no, it was really cool, because it's, like, it was very humanizing. There's definitely the elements of, like, at the time, which was something I didn't even realize, his kids are, like, our age.
Yeah.
Like a few years older than me. I'm not sure how old you are, Scott. I'm pretty sure you were slightly younger than me.
I think, but only by like a couple of months. What year were you born?
92.
Oh, okay, so I was born in 93, but in January of 93, like the very beginning.
Oh, February. So I'm just under a year older.
Just under a year, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I mean though. Like the George Lucas's kids were like 4 years. Like I think his daughter was 32 right now, so she's like about 4 years older, 3.5 years older than me. So and she was in the film. She was like the little girl that was like, "It'll never run" in episode 1. So.
Right.
I mean, like I could understand George creating things and being like, "Look, I've got kids. You know, I want to." Have these like Jar Jar, for instance, the whole he's the center of everything, we can bring it all together, which is the whole like comic relief. Like I can understand why he wanted a comic relief character in a story about like Darth Vader's demise of a really nice dude and a happy-go-lucky guy turning completely evil.
Right. I think I guess, all right, you know what, fuck it. I mean, we don't have a lot of topics anyway, so let's just go into it. Like, it's the Star Wars show now. But
I've got other subjects, but I just thought, like, I just liked humanizing George Lucas a bit. Like, yeah. And he made the biggest thing ever, and we love his fucking work to death. I mean, at the same time, he gets so much shit that's just uncalled for.
George Lucas is... without a doubt, a son of a bitch. No, I'm just gonna put this back on there. George Lucas is a hack. No, George Lucas is without a doubt one of the like inspirations like of my personal life in terms of like what I am aspiring to do like as a filmmaker. Like George Lucas, Steven Spielberg. To some extent, like like Stanley Kubrick, Peter Jackson, just dudes with beards. I have a thing for dudes with beards, I guess. But no, George Lucas though, like, sorry, I'm like sort of gushing, but like George Lucas is definitely a visionary idea man. Like George Lucas, if I had the chance to sit down with George Lucas and say, George, I want you to pitch me an idea that you've always wanted to do. I don't want you to write it, and I don't want you to direct it. I just want you to tell me what that idea is, and I'm going to help you flesh it out, and we're going to turn it into the best fucking thing. I guarantee you we'd come up with fucking gold. Like, just...
It's kind of like the guy who wrote Dune.
What is
like Dune, whatever.
Oh, Dune. Sorry, I was like, what is Dune? Oh, okay, Juno. With Ellen Page. No, Dune. Now that's a Photoshop. Does that exist?
Everyone says Dune a little differently. I say Dune because that's how they pronounced it in the old movie. I don't remember what that one was called.
The one with what's his name from?
Patrick Stewart's in there.
Is he? Oh God, yeah, that one. Yes.
Yeah, he is. Atomics! I can quote that movie. I fucking adored that as a kid. But yeah, like, point being, like, Dune was this amazing idea, and there's a whole thing about, like, how Dune, inspired sci-fi to this day.
Yeah.
Star Wars... Aliens, like, all these fucking science fiction films were, like, all from the original, like, somebody, I can't remember, it was, like, some crazy art dude. I would have to look it up, but it was, like, the documentary on someone's, give me a sec.
Go for it, I got some time.
Joe Jodorowsky's Dune, I think it was.
Oh, he was a director. He did whatchamacallit, Mountain.
Yeah, the really crazy, wacky.
Yeah, he wanted to make Dune and then never did, and it's really sad because he would have made a fucking weird ass Dune, and I would have loved to see.
Yeah. So that was the thing. So I got some pictures up on screen.
Here, I'm gonna switch to you. There you go.
So he had like all these artistic visions of like this intro sequence, and I highly recommend it. It's Joe Jodorowsky's Dune. I cannot.
It's hard to.
It's
Jodorowsky. It's Jodowski or something like
Dorowski or something. Yeah. So I highly recommend watching the documentary, but. He came up with this intro sequence, and I don't know if it was him per se, but it was like an inspiration of him and some, like, it was collaborative work. and I'm just trying to get the picture open. It starts off with this crazy zebra stuff, and we're talking about like 70s, 80s, around Star Wars Episode 1, of like this intro sequence of this like zebra ship with all this spice in it, that's been ruptured, and the spice is flowing out into space, and it slowly zooms out into a galaxy scale. But the technology of the time didn't really work, so they couldn't quite get that like shot, and I think they were competing with the other person's Dune, the one with Sting, was it?
Yeah, no, is it really? It's been so long since I've seen it. I know fucking what's his name from Twin Peaks is in a Dune, and I can't remember which Dune that is, if that's the same Dune.
No, Twin Peaks guy, yeah, he was the main character. He was Muad'Dib.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like this art piece, this piece in particular, people will see this and think this is Alien. This is H.I. Geiger's Alien. Giger. H.I. Giger's. Yeah, sorry, my bad.
No, it's Geiger. I was being stupid. You're right. I always pronounced it Geiger, so.
Giger. He came up with this art for Dune, and it was just fucking awe-inspiring. Like, this made it into one of the latest Aliens films that's just a waste of time at this point. Alien, what was it called? It was Prometheus,
Covenant?
And then Covenant. Yeah,
Covenant
so this was like made it
the
into
shit
Covenant.
one. I hated that one.
Prometheus, they both were kind of just. Like,
I didn't like Prometheus
like the same
either.
Film. Yeah, they're like the original vision of like Prometheus. There's a whole fucking story behind it, but like if all of the story made it into the film would actually make sense.
Right.
Where most of it didn't, so it doesn't. But anyway, like, yeah, just a little random ass tangent. Watch this freaking documentary. It is absolutely phenomenal, and it gets into so much of that stuff. Of like where arts and inspirations of these films came from, and like even influenced things like Star Wars, like some of the art direction in Star Wars, because it was essentially like an art book for this film.
Yeah.
And that got passed around, and then everybody started copying it because it was so unique and so, futuristic and wild.
Right. Well, it was good.
Yeah, it was visually good. So we got the new one, the Christopher Nolan one. Wait, who's doing the new Dune?
I don't know who is doing the new Dune. I've seen the trailer. I haven't watched the trailer. I've seen it come up in my.
Oh, Dennis Villeneuve. Dennis Villeneuve.
Chris Christopherson. I don't know.
He's done Blade Runner 2043, which was awesome. He did Arrival. Sicario,
Okay, I was gonna say
Prisoners.
I liked the new Blade Runner. Actually, I thought I wouldn't.
That was really good,
but it was actually really good. So I'll go. Then I definitely am interested to see what the fuck he does with the new Dune.
Oh, I think he's the right person for it. I think he's got the right pacing. I think he's got the right vision for it. Like, he did Arrival. I thought that was a really good sci-fi. Not necessarily one you can rewatch much, which is a bit unfortunate, but it's still a fantastic sci-fi.
Right.
Blade Runner was like, how could you possibly do a sequel to Blade Runner? And he did it, so...
Right, that's what... See, I mean, well, now we're going on super tangents, but yeah, but like, that's something I always thought when it was coming out, it was like, what about... Why make a sequel to a movie that had like nothing to do with anything? Are you seeing my picture?
Yeah. Junior.
But
my baby's an alien.
My baby. Oh, I'm not gonna do it.
Worms.
But there could be a chest burster coming right out of her. But yeah.
Yep.
What was I gonna say? But yeah, I don't know. Making a sequel to a movie that didn't need a sequel and it turned out to actually be good was like a surprise. So I definitely will watch the new Dune if it's made by that guy. Like,
oh, for sure.
Yeah.
So my brother is like, his number one film of all time is Blade Runner, like the original Blade Runner.
Yeah.
And he was like, he was just on the edge of his seat. He was like, this could be amazing or this could be awful. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
He was just Star Wars Episode 1 all over again.
Right.
And then, yeah, it came out and it was actually really good. So that's just like such a awesome surprise. And the dude has so much potential. I'm trying to think what else film he did. He Prisoners, Enemy, Sicario, Maelstrom. Yeah. Yeah, I have no idea. That's all good. Like, I know he's done good. Like, he knows what he's doing with those kinds of films, which is the important thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we went I went on a massive tangent.
I just kind of I let you go. I mean I could talk about George Lucas like literally all day, but that's not the focus of this podcast. Maybe we should.
This is the started George Lucas podcast.
That would be weird. just George Lucas dedicated. No, I mean we could probably do an episode. I mean we always say we should do an episode. Like we could probably do an episode that is just literally this is Star Wars. Like just every fucking
we're
thing.
We're going to gush about it.
We're gonna gush about it. If you don't like it, sorry. Welcome to Star Wars month or whatever. I don't know, but
yeah, okay. Well, I'm going to tick off the George Lucas. I've kind of said my piece about like him being a bit more humanized. Like just not to go crazy about it again, but it was the whole aspect of like, oh, George Lucas, why is he always fucking with his films and blah blah blah. And it's like he hasn't owned Star Wars since like what 2011.
Yeah.
Like yeah, so he hasn't owned Star Wars for a long time now. Or the Blu-ray release I think was after him.
Yes.
With like the Ewoks blinking and shit.
I think I don't know. Oh yeah,
he might have been in there. I don't know the context of how much he got his hands on that, or how much people were pushing him to do those sorts of things. You know what I mean? Like, hey George, can you fix the Star Wars, like redo it or something? And he'd be like, you deal with that. I don't, I want to do other things. I'm George Lucas. I'm not fucking Star Wars, man.
Yeah.
Even though he is Star Wars, man.
It's funny though that like everything that George Lucas like has not done since selling it to Disney, it's just turned like honestly it's like one of those things where it's like, yeah, you know what? As much as I dislike the prequels for everything they are, like I would much rather him still be at the helm giving us crazy shit than like what we got instead.
Yeah, I mean it's like. So in terms of movies, I think we've had a little bit of a discussion, and I'm not going to like this is wrapping up this tangent, but yeah. I think Rogue One was pretty good. I thought Solo was just a fun action flick. It didn't need to be much, and I'm glad that it wasn't much. I think a lot of the TV shows that have come out since then, which were, interestingly enough, in like George Lucas was in the helm control of like the Clone Wars and stuff like that. So like Rebels had the same guy. He also worked on Avatar: The Last Airbender, like the kids' TV show, not the fucking horrible M. Night Shyamalan thing.
No.
But like he went on to do Star Wars Rebels, which was a phenomenal TV show. Again, recommend that one. So I feel like in terms of it's been a kind of a double-edged sword. One thing is like we're getting more Star Wars content. The problem is we're also getting bad Star Wars content. So there's some good stuff going on. Mandalorian's fantastic. The Star Wars Rebels. There's this huge continuity between the Star Wars Clone Wars into Rebels, now into the Mandalorian, and it's all one big storyline.
Yeah. Because
there's a character coming back into Mandalorian that was from Star Wars Rebels.
Isn't it, what's her name?
Yeah, I was just going to leave it off so people wouldn't get spoiled, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, alright, fine, fair.
Because like, some people haven't even watched, like, Rebels and stuff.
Hello?
Man, stop showing the trailers. Stop it.
It's the trailer for the first season.
Oh, first season. Well, yeah, then that's fine. Sorry, I'm very anti-spoiler. I'm just like, don't be going showing around that crap.
I was just handed a whole fucking pizza.
Oh my god! And now I got the sound of you eating my pizza. Oh fuck!
This is the best podcast ever. Is this stuffed crust? Oh fuck! It's stuffed crust.
It's stuffed crust. Yeah, so Mandalorian, absolutely awesome. Really excited for the next one, which is the 30th of October, season 2. Mm-hmm. I'm really intrigued to see where it goes, see if they're going to try to go for a third season or try to wrap it up in the second season.
It's frankly the only reason to keep a Disney Plus subscription at this point.
I mean, yeah.
There's nothing on Disney Plus that I'm like, well, I don't pay for it, but I mooch off of a friend who gets it for free anyway. But like, that's the only reason why I would like want to continue to use his. Okay, we're not watching. That's not what this stream is about. We don't watch YouTube videos here. But yeah. Wrapping that up. Yeah, The Mandalorian, really fucking good show. Really excited for the Obi-Wan show. Cannot wait.
Is it even going to be a thing?
They're starting filming.
Because I was like under the impression it was going forward. The movie was going to go forward, then they were like, screw it, we want a TV show. And now they're like, it's coming back.
Right.
Because like, it was like, me and my brother were talking about it, and then it was like potentially cancelled, and they didn't know if they're going to do it or not, and it was like, it was really, yeah, it was a thing.
Yes, yeah, no, yeah, it was one of those things where it was talked about. Yeah, it was supposed to be a standalone movie, one of the Star Wars stories. Obviously, those fucking didn't work out because fucking Solo bombed. And then Rise of Skywalker was like the most disappointing Star Wars release.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited for that. If that's the thing that's going to happen, I'm not gonna like. I get excited about things, but I don't get hyped about things because I know it's like, oh, it's going to come out in like 2027. You know, like.
Well, yeah, and the last time I got hyped about Star Wars, like which was Episode 7, like I was thoroughly disappointed. So.
I loved Star Wars 7, but it was not like rewatching it. You're like, wow, this is a lot of fun, and this feels very Star Wars. But then it just sort of falls flat after that.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah,
the whole like reliving the past and all that kind of bull crap. So
there's a lot we could talk about, and I'll save it for our inevitable
Star
Wars episode. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, your turn.
My turn. Okay, so this is
your turn to ramble.
So this is the ramble that I wanted to bring up because I'm gonna put the pizza down because that's, I'm sure, not good audio, but
yeah, it's so great having you just the whole time. The whole time.
I'll save that for later.
Yep.
So this comes out Friday.
Yeah, I think I might pick it up.
I might too. I own all these games on their original platforms, so it's like cool, but like not like I have to have it. I mean, having it like remastered is still cool, but I don't know. But like the thing that, like, what I wanted to talk about this, and just because I felt it was just something, and maybe you being a part of the game industry, like, you might know more about it than I do. This game is announced, and it's coming out for the Super Mario 35th anniversary, but it has already been announced that the physical copies are limited run, like, by Nintendo. They're only printing a certain number of copies, and as far as I know, once they're sold out, they're sold out. And the digital copy is only going to be available digitally until March 31st or something of 2021. Meaning, if you don't buy it by March of next year on their digital store, you don't have a chance to buy it ever again. And I know that that's like them trying to like create their own like artificial scarcity, because it is like, oh, it's for the 35th anniversary. If it wasn't special, then why would, it's like, but you know how much people have like wanted this for so long. It's just sort of shocking to me that it's like being done this way. Like, I don't know. What are your thoughts on like digital scarcity? Like, especially in the age of digital, where it's like,
is it digital or is it just the physical scarcity?
The physical is scarcity, but they're forcing. So that's the thing. Like, it's scarce because they're only printing a certain number of copies. Which, fine. That's like, this is the number we decided on because it's the 35th anniversary. But because of that, they're also putting on the digital scarcity, which is, like, I read the article. It will be no longer available for download, like, period, after March of 2021. And it's like, why? It's digital, and it's money that you can continue to make. I don't get it.
I mean, we're talking about a company that also still sells their, like, 5-year-old games at full price.
That's true.
Like,
every fucking game that we have at our store that's brand new is still $60.
Yeah, it's their philosophy from memory, so don't like I'm not like a Nintendo fanatic where I know the ins and outs of what they do. But from memory, there was the whole like quality thing is a thing for them. Like we're putting huge amounts of effort and time into quality Nintendo games that you're getting. Like this quality that is guaranteed in a game. So, like, if I picked up, say, Super Mario Sunshine, I know for a fact that game will still play as well as it did back then. Mm-hmm. Like, by today's standards, it's still like that quote-unquote quality of, like, it still runs like a normal game, like a modern game, and it's a timeless quality. I guess is probably a better way to describe it, like a timeless quality. I think that's the kind of mentality they've got going with a lot of that sort of stuff. Because, like, that's their excuse for making it expensive. They've also, I can understand a limited physical release because they're just, it seems like they are slowly but surely, for this might be the last generation of Nintendo console, where we're actually getting physical cartridges. They might just swap over entirely to, like, digital downloads and SD cards and stuff.
Right. I mean...
but the idea of it being limited for 12 months, thereabouts, is just... Well, not even 12 months, like 6 months at this point. Yeah, like, I don't... Are you absolutely sure about that?
I mean, that's what it was reported. I think it was IGN. Let me look it up.
Both the players will be... Super Mario 3D All-Stars will be available as a limited run retail edition and digital edition that is available for a limited time until the end of March 2021. So there might be the limited edition might be until March, and then there's like just the classic edition, if that makes sense. That's what it's worded poorly, but that might be what they mean. Like,
I mean, if that's...
you buy in the first... Sorry?
Oh, I was just gonna say, if that's the case, that's a little more, like, hopeful, but,
Because there's a thing that Nintendo's done. It's all about that exclusivity of, like, you buy... you buy, like, this Mario Gold cart of, like, Zelda or something. Mm-hmm. There's only, 100,000 in the world. And they're, like, then it becomes the whole, like, trading and buying. And it keeps the... There's the side of it with the collector's edition of things, of, like, we're trying to... make our game sought after. We're trying to make that, like, oh, do you know about the limited editions thing? Like, if I look up, like, Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, like, collectors, I'm pretty sure there's, like, a special cart.
There's the gold cartridge with the holographic, which is that one, yeah.
Yeah, the holographic. So it's funny, the PAL versions are all gold. They don't have the holographic, though.
Oh, I was gonna say, I have the North American, the NTSC gold with the holographic one.
Wow. That's, yeah. But so that's the thing, like, that's the whole thing of, like, we know about it, but we know it's rare enough that we're not necessarily going to be able to pick it up.
Right. I don't know. I just think... forced rarity in a digital age, I think, is, like, quite possibly the stupidest thing. I get it.
Or makes a lot of money.
Yeah, but all it does to me, what I understand it as, is all it does really is it only creates a market outside of, like, the first-party sellers and becomes all for the third-party sellers, like on the eBay and on Amazon and all that.
Yeah, but that's the thing, though. Like, a lot of their collector's editions, though, they probably, so if like a standard copy of, say, Super Mario All-Star costs $40 for them to produce and make, they're going to sell it for $80. Like, this is just me going off Australian figures.
Right.
So, like, you make one, you sell it for twice the price, that means you can make 2 copies. That's how business products usually work.
Right.
You make double the money, and then you sell it. Like that's like the bare minimum. Usually it's about 1/3, and then they sell it for 2, that extra, so they can make essentially 2 copies and have enough money income after the fact. They're doing the rarity thing because it's, hey, we've got 100,000. Like, think about it, 100,000 copies of, say, Super Mario All-Star, and they sell it at $120, and it only cost them $60 to make, and then they got 100,000 of them. They've just made like I don't even know how much, like what, $6 million, $60 million,
right?
Just by that one rare cartridge alone. And because it's rare, they know it will sell. If you make something not rare, it won't sell.
I mean,
so
I don't.
That's from a business perspective,
right? And I understand the business side of it. I do. I understand the, like, the mentality of, hey, we make this thing rare. It makes it more appealing. More people are more likely to pick it up, so that we know all of our copies get sold and we're not sitting on copies. And, like, that makes sense. But I think what to me makes it, like, sort of duplicitous is, like, the sort of like the conversation we were having the last episode about, like, digital games eventually shutting down and becoming no longer playable. Like, and so something I said to you, like, before we started the podcast, like, the irony of releasing the Scott Pilgrim game for its 10th anniversary on the Switch, a game that is, like, the prime example, the go-to poster boy of, like, games you can't play anymore without pirating if you are unlucky enough to have not purchased it on your Xbox, like, when it was possible. Yeah. And so, like, so many people were like, oh man, I loved the Scott Pilgrim game, I really wish you would release the Scott Pilgrim game. And they finally are like, hey, we're doing it. And then in the same breath, they're saying, oh, but this Super Mario All-Star shit, like, sorry. I mean, I know there's a physical copy, so you will always have the ability to resell and, like, go to a place like where I work and find a copy of the game and, like, get it. I get that. It's not like it's completely dead, but I guess just, like I said, like, the irony of announcing a game that everybody has been waiting for and is super excited about, only to then say, oh, but you have this limited window to come get it, and if you don't, you're fucking screwed.
Yeah, I mean, there is this whole mentality problem that I wouldn't. It's a business mentality of a businessman who doesn't give a shit about video games. It's somebody who's running a company, and the mentality is supply and demand.
Right.
So by them having a stranglehold on what their product is, like, and that is highly reflective on things like Nintendo being against people, Twitch streaming, YouTube streaming their games, and things like them cracking down on, like, emulation. Like, they were the forefront people from memory who were trying to crack down on emulation.
Oh, they absolutely were.
That does. Yeah, because it's the supply and demand thing, because they have, like, what was it, the Wii store, the Wii online store thing where you could buy, like...
Yeah, the virtual console.
The virtual console. I never had a Wii. I had a Wii U, but I never really got into it.
You never had a Wii?
Shut up.
That wasn't even intentional, but you know what? I'll take it.
Yeah, so I never had a Wii. I had a Wii U. I never played it, like, through the Wii stuff. Like, it was just, I was into, like, PlayStation 3 at the time, and Wii was so, like, out of date when it was released.
Oh, it absolutely was.
But that's that whole supply and demand thing coming back into play of, like, like, oh, we only have a limited edition, and we make bank, like, they make enough money from it that they don't have to keep upkeep with it. Oh my god. Fucking you never had a Wii thing. And then, like, in 5 years from now, they're like, on the virtual console, you can get the Super Mario 3D All-Stars, like, it's just them controlling the market. Like, it's nothing of, like, they don't understand games. It's like, no, they understand business. They understand how to make money. Like,
oh yeah,
Nintendo is the, I don't want to, like, sound like a bastard, but, like, it's such an entry level video game. Like, it's the safe, like, this is the family-friendly video game console with Nintendo and all your favorite characters that haven't changed in, like, 25 years.
Nintendo... Yeah, that's actually a really good point. Like, Nintendo is one of those things where it's like... I mean, obviously, I have a Switch. I play games on it. I buy some of the mainstream titles, like, but they don't really innovate at all, do they?
Well, so
hardware-wise, maybe, but like in terms of their software, in terms of their first-party like development, like I don't really remember the last time I played a new Nintendo game going. Other than, I mean, it's like, oh, it's more of the same, and that's a positive, but, like, being like, oh, wow, this is, like, brand fucking new. I've never played this before.
Yeah. So, I was listening to a dude on stream, Vinny from VineSource. He was talking about something that there was, like, a clause. It's like a Nintendo clause. Like, I don't want to say clause. It was like something that you follow, like a layout of like, this is how we do Nintendo Mario games, which was essentially we create Mario and we have all these iconic characters, but we're not allowed to modify those iconic characters, and we're not allowed to add new iconic characters in. Those have to be things that don't look like they belong in the Mario world. So you have like the new Mario game, or the newer Mario game, what is it, Odyssey, where you had like Daisy, and then you're like in the real world.
Yeah.
Like, because of that one design philosophy they have is like they can't add anything or change anything in Mario. So they were like, or like the only thing they can add is things that don't belong. So they literally made a new Mario game based around that philosophy, where it's like you're walking around the real world. It's like, it's just bizarre, to say the least.
It was bizarre, and then because it just continues to play exactly like, you know, Galaxy, exactly like Sunshine, exactly like, well, not so much exact because you have the flood pack thing, but like exactly like Mario 64. And I get it, it's one of those things where it's like, hey, we created this like move set that like works, why reinvent the wheel? But it's like, it's the same.
They're not innovating the wheel.
It's not innovating the wheel. Yeah, you didn't make you're releasing the same wheel that you released in 1994, and it's like, cool, it still works, but it's boring. It does the same
it's
thing.
Become dull, and that's the whole thing. It's the, oh, I like the platforming game in Mario, therefore I'll buy my kids a Mario. Like, it's not necessarily, and this is the whole thing with Nintendo. It's the whole like big reason why I just stopped caring about Nintendo, was that they're just targeting people who are not necessarily, they're not gamers, man.
They're not gamers, man.
They're not gamers, man. You get real gamer struggles here. They're targeting just, you know, your everyday Joe. Just people who, like, oh, you know, I've grown up and I played games when I was a kid, but it was always like on the weekend or after school, and they never really, they would go do other things, you know, like just kind of your normal day-to-day person.
Right.
So, yeah, you got your day-to-day person, and that's who they're targeting with these games. They're not targeting people who've, like, been playing the series since Mario 1. They've been playing, or the Super Mario Bros. They've been targeting people who assume that's, like, the first Mario they ever play, with a little bit of, iteration on the previous game, with, like, oh, there's a hat mechanic now. Still the same game, it's just got a hat.
Right.
That you can control bits and pieces.
I don't know, I guess it's. Sorry, I was just. I guess it's more of the cynical nature of my, like. Is it me getting older, or is it the, like we've talked about, like the corporatization of video games? Like, I don't know which is which and what's why.
I think it is a bit of column A and column B. I think the companies are getting like, video games started as a very free-form medium because only people who actually knew how to program would, you know, people who believed in video games made video games. So video games were very unique, interesting. People would take a lot of risks. People would try random crazy ideas. Whereas these days, big businesses are going, oh, that's the next medium. We could invest in that. We can put money into that and make our money back in a quick turnaround. Because it is a quick turnaround, how quickly money go. Like, you put money into a games company, 2 years later, you've released a game and you've made quadruple the money back. Like, it's like, that is a easy investment for a lot of business people. So that's their mentality. Like, it's just a quick turnaround. So then that gets the companies and the people who work at these big corporations are like, we gotta fine tune this. We gotta make a factory, and that's where you get the whole, like, you're just if you want to work in the games industry, you become a cog in a machine. You're not. That's where the machine came from, is these people trying to make quick turnaround profits for themselves. They don't care if the game isn't as good as the previous one or the artistic vision isn't the same, like, they just want a quick turnaround. That's what happened to Konami and Metal Gear and Kojima and stuff.
Metal Gear. Why?
Metal Gear. Because he had all these ideas, and they were like, no, it's going to cost too much money. We want a quick turnaround. And then he was like, all right, I'm leaving.
All right, see you. Like...
And then what happened to Konami? They're like fucking falling apart.
Well, yeah, and that's what's funny is it's like they're like, oh, we can't have that money, and it's like, you do realize that half the reason your company is still like functioning is because people are excited about whatever the heck Kojima's going to make with his new Metal Gear. Like, you have to at some point go, this is our cash cow. Like, this guy makes us the money. Like, let's give him the time.
That's the disconnect. That is the big disconnect with video games in this day and age and companies, is that people don't. They're just like, oh, it's just a video game. It's a product you put on the shelf and people buy it. Like, they don't see it as what it is.
I guess, and I was gonna say this too, like, but I don't know the psychology behind it, but why do people still buy it? Why? We all know
because they don't do the research. They don't understand. It's like Jaws. How many Jaws movies are there?
There's like 4 or 5.
Yeah, okay. And this is a classic point, because I was talking to my dad about this at one point, and he would be a classic, like, as an average person who enjoys watching a Jaws film, he doesn't understand, well, he didn't understand. I said to him, like, the original Jaws was made by, what was it, Spielberg?
Yeah, Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, Steven Spielberg, Peter Benchley was the story writer, whatever. And they made Jaws. They had an idea. They know what they wanted to do with it. They created it.
It was also a really well-selling novel, too, so it was like everything was in place to make a good movie.
Yeah, but so that's the thing. You say that to people, and even to me, I go, I didn't even know there was a novel.
Yeah.
And that's the beginning of the, oh, this is starting to make sense. And then you look at Jaws 2, who made that? It was... Janot Schwarz. Janot Schwarz. Yeah. And do you know what I mean? Like, people are like, but it's called Jaws too. And I'm like, yeah, it's not the same people. Yeah, it's not the same people though, but that's the surface level. That's what people see and go, it's, it's got the same name. And that's the disconnect. And people go, oh, Jaws 2 wasn't as good as Jaws 1. And it's like, it's because it's not made by the same people. Like, it's completely different. And they're like, oh, it's not very good.
Not very good.
But that's what I mean, though. Like, that applies to video games. That applies to these business people. That's the mentality. Is like, they're like, oh, it's just a game. Oh, it's just, it's just a thing. We'll just make more of it and we'll make money. And these directors and these people just like, dude, if you give if they say they need 1 more month to make this game complete, give them the month. Yes, it will be more expensive, but the game will be more like solid. It will work.
Right.
Like it will be a better experience. It will sell itself because people will say, "Oh, this game is amazing. It was done so well." But that's that disconnect between the top and the people actually doing all the hard work. I mean, it's just, not to get political, but the whole capitalism eating its own tail thing. They're just big CEOs and stuff, producers that say, "Oh, I want more big titties and explosions in this movie," and it's like, dude, it's Jaws, or not even Jaws, like it's Speed, Keanu Reeves Speed.
Right.
It's like, what? We can have
quick aside. I fucking love the movie Speed. Speed 2
it's fun.
fucking Speed on a boat, and I hated it. But Speed 1 is a fantastic...
Speed on a boat.
Speed on a boat. They're like, what if it was Speed on a boat?
Oh, do you know what we should do? We should do live commentary on stream, and then we'll do like a video upload. But we don't have the movie on stream, but we'll watch it at the same time.
Skyweaver.
Just commentate over.
Yeah, sorry, not to. But Skyweaver has asked, "Are we hyped for Mario 3D All Stars?"
I don't know. I don't really know enough about it. I want to play Super Mario 64. That's been like remastered, but I don't think it's being remastered.
Super Mario 64 is it's been remastered to the point where I think it has a 16:9 mode. Graphically,
16:9.
No, 16:9. I think it's in widescreen, but for the most part, it's just I think it's just the same game.
That's fine. I don't mind it's the same game. I just want it to be remastered because it's like everything I like. If I Google it, this is a fan remaster.
Oh
This
yeah,
isn't
everybody who's ever made fucking Mario in like Unity or Unreal, and it like looks fucking great, and you're like, that would be cool, and it's like they're not gonna do it. Of course, they're not gonna do it. Like,
this is a fake trailer as well. Like I can't find it. You know what I mean?
But I mean, I guess so. To answer the question, am I hyped for it? Yes. I definitely think it's
Not
cool.
really.
Well, yeah. All right.
Really.
I don't know. Maybe hype is the wrong word. Am I like definitely like interested in it? I am. Will I pick it up? Don't know. Maybe. It's one of those things where it's like I was saying when we started the discussion, I have all of these games on their original platforms still. Like, I could pop in my N64 right now, and I understand not everybody still does. Like, you know, like, not everybody still has their GameCube, not everybody still has their Wii. And that's fine for, you know, if you just want the portability of, like, Mario. I definitely think it's going to be a really cool like thing to have. I really do think that the collection games are a good idea. I don't know. Am I excited for it? Probably not. Like Packer said. Like sorry. Am I hyped for it? I'm not like, oh boy, I gotta get you. Like, am I excited to see it? Sure. Like, I don't know. Maybe I am too cynical for this. I don't know.
No, I don't think you're cynical. I just think you're, you know, like, you got to take it like from your own opinion. You can't be like, I got to sell this to somebody. You know, like, I mean, it tends to happen when you're like doing a podcast, or you're streaming something, when your brain's like, oh, maybe I should be like positive about this thing because I'll sound cynical. But it's like, for me, I'm like, no, I'm just straight up like. This is all they've really done. All I give a crap. So Super Mario Galaxy, I don't give a crap about. Super Mario Sunshine, it looks okay. I don't really care. But like Super Mario 64 is where I want to play it because that's nostalgic for me.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at this, and it's clear that they've up-resed a few textures.
Mm-hmm.
Like you got this Goomba's face, and it's got that clarity to it. And you've got this coin that looks clear, but it's still suffering so many visual artifacts that I'm like, I could just do this in an emulator and it would look better because I could put like an up-res texture pack on it or something.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like it's like.
So yeah, they're saying
just load up my 64.
They're saying in the chat that 64 is upscaled a bit, but Sunshine and Galaxy will be widescreen and they will look really good. And I think that is because those were made on a more modern engine. They can probably have those textures and things easily like plopped in and going, hey, here's a high-res texture. We don't really have to change too much about the models themselves, probably because the polygons count was already high enough to be like decent enough on the Switch, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. If I get the portability of it, so from that aspect, I would like, oh, that's kind of cool because I would like to have, you know, Super Mario 64 on a portable console. I played the DS version as a kid on the portable console.
Right,
you know?
And it hurt the fuck out of my thumb because we had no fucking analog stick.
Yeah. So then that was a big thing too. Everyone's excited about the the potential of analog controls with Super Mario 64 on like a modern console controller, not a you know N64 trying to fight the camera kind of thing.
Yeah.
So there's going to be more control there. I mean, it's funny that people are like, "Oh, it's going to have widescreen support." This doesn't have widescreen support.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it doesn't. That's just something I heard. I could be wrong. Maybe there is no widescreen at all.
I think Sunshine and stuff have it.
Yeah.
But like Mario 64 clearly doesn't. This is their fucking release trailer.
And it's
It is
funny
not.
too, because like I know for a fact, like you said, I know for a fact I could pop it into an emulator, and I know like the Dolphin emulator, well, not Dolphin for N64, but you know what I mean. Like I know for a fact I could get a widescreen hack going, and it would look just fine. So it's like it's not impossible.
Yeah, and like the widescreen hacks been worked on for years and years by people, and as somebody said in the chat, PC Port has upscale textures and I think models.
Yeah.
So like that's the thing. People, there was something I was watching. Someone was talking about like they made a PC port of the Super Mario 64 DS version, which has all the high-res models and stuff and higher-res textures because it was more powerful than the N64.
Mm-hmm.
And the only problem is that it was a D-pad console. Somebody's actually made it so it works with analog controls. So, like, they've done a PC port. So it's like the superior version. And I'm looking at this and I'm wondering, you know, like, graphically, what graphics are they using here? Are they using the N64 graphics or are they using the DS graphics? I don't really know the difference.
I mean, if I had to guess, it looks exactly like the N64 graphics, because I remember the DS has, I think, updated models, I'm pretty sure. And, textures, too.
Yeah, no, this is just a port of the N64, because, like, the grass is different colored.
Right.
Like, it's clearly... Like, it looks better, too. Like, if you up-resed this DS stuff, it would look amazing. Like, just the resolution. Like, look at that. Like, Mario, it's fucking microscopic because it's the resolution. But like, do you see how, like, he looks more like Mario, whereas you get, like, this version, and he just kind of... Like, do you see what I mean? Like, he just...
Like, he's
That
clearly...
looks more like modern Mario than that does.
They could have thrown on a texture, even, that would have...
Just give him actual skin color.
Yeah, like, they could have easily fixed that. I mean, I don't know.
But then people were like, oh, it's not an N64 version, you've tampered with it. That's a rabbit hole in itself.
At what point, like, if you keep replacing the pieces of the Mario, is it still the same Mario? Like...
Yeah, it is.
yeah, probably.
Formula in years.
You know what? You're right. That's absolutely true.
I think, in terms of am I excited, I am more... Oh my god, here's a good version. Here's a nice, like, clean comparison right there. Like, Mario.
Yeah.
N64. Like, the Mario DS... like, graphically is, like, about the same fidelity, and some of the graphics are improved for the DS, because obviously they had to make things more upscale for, like, fatter, for, like, the tiny little screen.
Right.
Like, there's pros and cons to both of these.
I was gonna say, clearly the interpolation of the textures is different, but then, yeah, like, the sun there is, like, not necessarily higher res, just, like, no longer as fuzzy... Yeah, it's no longer
got filtering on.
Fuzzy filtered, but then you look at the squares on the floor and it's like they're tiny. They're tiny.
Yeah, like this is the resolution's clearly about the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your mic is peaking a lot there, Scott.
Is it? I've turned it down since too. Jeez.
It's just peaking. It sounds very staticky. That's all right. We always have a technical problem each podcast.
I know, right? It's weird. I don't know. Every episode, it's different. Like, the last time I was listening back to it, and we were like, you were super
Are you
loud.
using the right microphone?
I should be. I
don't think you are.
Do you hear me tapping?
I do,
Okay,
but it's not, like, that loud.
Oh.
What's the other thing you can tap?
The front of it, I guess.
Oh, whatever. Well, that's louder.
That's the condenser mic, so that's what's on. I don't know.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, it just sounds clippy. It doesn't matter. It's too late now. We're already like an hour into this.
Yeah, exactly.
Hour and a half.
Fuck it. Sorry if I was
just don't
peeking
talk too loudly into it.
I'll try. Well, I mean, you know what else? It might be because at the last episode I didn't have it as close to me. I didn't have the arm swung around, so that might be all what it is. As you can clearly tell, we don't do any like level tests. Like we just literally, I fucking hit stream and we just kind of go and we just go fuck it.
I will say that Scott doesn't do any level tests. I test my equipment.
Oh, do you?
He's just like we're starting the. You're just like we're starting the stream, and I'm like, okay, I guess we are not going to test anything again.
Yep. No, never gonna test. But yeah.
Beautiful. Doesn't matter. Yeah. So in terms of like that subject in general, I feel like Nintendo, if what we were talking about originally, Nintendo being like, oh, you can only get it for like 6 months permanently, that's really dumb. That doesn't make sense. If it's only for the limited edition for 6 months, then that's like, okay, fair enough. If it's all just Nintendo trying to control their own market. That's why they've got everything built the way they've done it. Like, they've got their own marketplace. You have to, bow to their wishes to even get remotely looked at for their, platform and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, it's just stupid. Like, I think this could be a lot of fun to have on the go. I feel like having 3 games in one for the price of one game would be great, just to be able to relive N64. I can play Sunshine and Galaxy for the first time, so that's kind of neat. But I just moreover, I just don't care that much. A lot of these games you can get through other means in this day and age, and like you can upscale them the way you want to, and like they're throwing a huge price tag on things for things that like not getting modernized or fixed. Like the fact that this is like 4x3 still.
That doesn't make any sense to me. Like the fact that they didn't.
It must be just the engine it's running, the engine they built for it must not compute rendering or something.
Which I understand. Like I get it, because it is probably just a straight port of N64 like software onto new hardware, and I get that, where it's like, hey, this is just, but like, if you had this planned, right? If you're like, this is what our big 35th anniversary thing is, you think that somebody would have said, hey, let's just like remaster it. Like, hey, let's make it just a little bit nicer so that it actually like works on the Switch as intended. I don't know. I am I too quiet? Now I'm too quiet. Man, I can't get nothing.
You sound fine to me.
Okay, I mean, I turned my system volume down.
Do I need to turn my mic up just to make it worse?
Yes, yeah. Let's everybody sit right here from the microphone and just, no pop filter, just talk as I approached it too high. Did I kill you? Are you dead?
Hello?
Oh, okay, yeah. I thought I killed you.
No, I'm not dead.
I murdered
not yet.
you.
Oh, speaking of not dead. So I was going to mention this, and it was on my little list. Today, 12 months ago, a year ago to the day, in fact to the hour, I had major surgery.
Oh,
and
wow.
Today was the day, a year ago. So a year ago, I was roughly 60 kilos. I'm now 85 kilo.
Nice. What is that in freedom pounds?
Oh, for fuck's sake, mate. In pounds?
In
do you want it in stone?
British sterling. No, what is that in pounds? Because I don't fucking.
Okay, so 85 kilos in pounds is 188.
Oh, okay, cool. No,
That's what I'm at now. I was at my worst, 121 pounds.
Okay, so now those of us in the ass backward like parts of the world understand that was a big loss, and then regained. So that you're definitely doing well.
Yeah. So I won't get into too many details about it, but a year ago I had a ileostomy. Basically, I had my entire colon removed. Because it was killing me, and those people who like know me from like my Facebook posts and stuff, I looked like a zombie. Like I looked like I was on my way to death, and I literally was. So I got that. It's more or less it's like fixed a lot of my pain issues, so I'm actually a lot better now. Having like 5 diseases is not fun. I would just put it out there. Highly don't recommend ever getting that many diseases. I still have. Yeah, it's yeah. See how we go when we hit about the 60s,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So yeah, I just wanted to put it out there. Like, I'm actually alive and doing pretty well now. Like, despite the fact that the whole world's falling apart, I'm actually doing so much better than I have been in so long.
I mean, not necessarily physically, but like to the same vein, like mentally, like this is like really like ironic in a way, but like the coronavirus was a fucking godsend in some senses, because the fact that I got to like slow down for 2 months and like not have to do anything.
Yeah.
Because I was going real strong. I was doing the 40-hour work week. Like, I was like working at a job I didn't like, and I was just like, I thought I was getting a better one, and then it ended up being even worse, and then coronavirus hit, so I just quit outright, and I was like, fuck this noise. So I got to sit down and like not do anything for 2 months and like reevaluate my life, and I decided to go back to school and like do that stuff. So like, yeah, the same thing, like for a different reason, but same like mentality. Like, all things considered, the world is on fire, but like I'm not. I feel better than I have in fucking probably 5 years. So
You've called it the wrong thing. It was the
oh, I'm sorry.
Global Peace Initiative.
The Global Peace Initiative. You're right. I completely forgot the Global Peace Initiative. But yeah, ever since the Global Peace Initiative took over and made everything hard to do. That's the weird. Why are they showing a side by side? Oh, this isn't Nintendo. I was like, why are they showing a side by side? Other than the fact that some of the texture's a little crisper, it looks exactly the fucking same.
Yeah, they've just increased the frame rate and they've just increased the resolution. Like,
Right.
that's it. Like, the textures resolution in certain things have been improved, like the things that you immediately see in your face.
Right.
But outside of that, everything else is about the same. Like, yeah, the frame rate here, you can clearly see how smooth that movement is.
Which is to be expected,
Anyway.
but I don't know.
But yeah, so yeah, it's crazy because it's like, oh, people are giving me a wide berth. Man, I could have used that about 4 years ago when I got horribly sick. 5 years ago now, jeez, it's so fucking long ago when I started getting sick. But yeah, like I'm actually well. I'm down a colon, but it's like, it's totally fine. I'm,
Now
like
you have a
it's better than.
semicolon.
Oof. No, I don't have a colon. There's no colon.
Oh, dang.
Full stop.
Full stop. You
It's
got a
full
period.
stop.
You got a full period.
I got a period.
Like,
Yeah, anyway, so yeah, that was just a little bit of a celebration on my part. It's such a big thing. Like, I could have been dead, like literally dead, and not been able to, like, do this podcast or anything, or even help
Right.
out with some other projects we've been working on.
projects.
So yeah, no, it's awesome. Like, my life is going so well now, which is just wow.
That's good. I mean, that's very good. I mean, obviously, I've been following your Facebook journey, so I know a little more about it than the viewers do. But like, still, yeah, no, that's always good to hear.
It's
I did not know
nothing
it was
can
the
kill me.
exact
That's
year.
what I've learned.
Yeah, nothing will kill you.
No, it's insane. I talked to my girlfriend about all the crap that like happened to me throughout my entire life, and she's like, "How are you not dead? Like, how are you just not dead?" And I'm just like, "Look, God has a purpose for me, and whatever that purpose is, it needs to be very afraid." It's just
That's it. That's the best way to look at it.
yeah. All right. Anyway, did you have any other subjects you want to jump into? Because I've still got my whole list here.
Oh my god, I didn't. How much of a list do you have?
Oh, I don't have to do all of these. These are just I've decided to finally write a list and actually just check things off as we talk. So I've always got something to talk about.
Okay, that's positive. I mean, we've also just been going off on as many tangents as physically possible, but
Oh, dude, we were so much worse when we started.
oh my god, yeah. Episode 1 was just not a train wreck.
You
It
were
was-
obsessed with wizards.
I was obsessed with wizards. It was such a good thing though. I'm so glad you showed that to me. Like I'm gonna put him back up on the screen. Like I'm making it a little bit bigger.
Do we need to do like a flashback episode on the third episode?
Can we do like a clip show episode and it's already been like fucking 3 episodes? It was such it inspired me in such a way, like that wizard. I just was so enthralled.
Hold on, let me just get the video up real quick of the first episode. We'll just go back through
Just
it.
go
Yeah.
back through it. Yeah. But oh god, I don't know. Well, so yeah, go ahead. What's next on the list? What's next on the topics that you wanted to You're
it's a flashback episode.
You're gonna get us. You're gonna get us copyright stricken again because of that fucking Dragon Ball Z thing.
No, it was the audio that sets it off.
That's true. It was.
So I've got a couple of subjects. I guess one of them would have been the people's influence on opinion. We sort of started talking about it before the stream, and then we were like, "Oh, we'll save it for the stream." I guess I could elaborate a little bit onto that, just because it was sort of relevant for what we were talking about today. But it was like, so we and Scott were talking about Star Wars and how he was like, oh, when I was younger, I really hated the original not original, episode 1 through 3 or whatever. Yeah. And I was saying it's interesting that you say that because I really like those films, and I think Scott ended up saying there's more appreciation for those films now.
I wouldn't say
but
I
was just
them now, but I definitely I like them. I definitely don't love them. There are still
and I just wonder how much of that is somebody else's influence, like the internet's influence and the whole pop culture of hating on the prequels is cool or whatever.
I'm sure that there was definitely and I mean anybody who knows anything about internet criticism immediately knows about the fucking red letter media, the Plinkett reviews of fucking Star Wars,
which I actually just can't stand to watch. I watched 1 or 2 and I was like, this is pretty, the episode 1 is pretty funny, but the rest just make me cringe.
Yeah, actually, I mean, this is just what we're talking about. We're going back into Star Wars, but from a different angle.
We're going back.
We're going back, baby. But so with the red letter media stuff, and I mean, I still appreciate what they make today. I definitely do think that their content is still consumable, and I think that they're funny.
Oh, it's at such a high quality.
It is such a high quality, and that's kind of why I think their older stuff is I no longer really find it watchable.
Yeah.
I weirdly enough, I can still occasionally put on the Plinkett reviews of the Star Trek movies because I think they're a little more subdued. And I think that the humor still comes across as funny as it did, but when it comes to watching the Plinkett reviews of the prequel trilogies, I don't find the same enjoyment in it that I used to. I don't find nearly as much humor, and I'm not just talking about the stuff that's the questionably the no longer PC, I'm not talking about that. I know obviously they say some stuff that's wasn't technically PC then and isn't PC now. I don't care about that. I don't give a shit. I don't personally like that kind of humor myself, but that's fine. If it's your thing, it's your thing. I'm talking about the actual critiques of the movies. I'm starting to as I get more and more into why are you getting George Lucas has such a fucking weird fucking face.
It's the photo is unflattering because it's straight on.
He has an unflattering face though. He's not an unattractive fellow by any means. He just has a very unflattering face in his old age. He has got.
Continue your thought.
Spoofy. Sorry, my thought. No. As I get more and more into actual literary analysis of film, film as literature, and actually taking more thought into the art form of filmmaking, because I'm trying to become a filmmaker. I find a lot of what Mike says in the Plinkett reviews, some of it to be just a little almost to the scent of being nitpicky, like every other fucking YouTuber was doing at the time. And I guess I should probably back it up because it's I can't just say that and not have my sources. But I can't think of a specific thing right now. But there are parts of the videos that are actually still very, very good. There are parts of stuff that's he's really got good thoughts, and I'm not saying that he's wrong about everything, because he's not. But then there are these things. There are these incessant things that Mike goes into, these tangents of
why is he here? Why is that happening? Where did this guy come from?
To the point where you're oh, okay, I don't care, because the plot, it doesn't matter. So here we go. So this is something that we did, like, and I mean, it's a fucking obvious thing, but I'll talk about it because whatever. This is a class I took, intro to media or whatever. One of the things we talked about was what is the difference between plot and story, and you know, a lot of people will say, oh, well, the plot is the story, and it's like, well, no, it's not. The plot is the sequence of events that get your characters from point A to point B. The story is the emotional impact that your characters themselves go through and experience. So yeah, the plot, you know, big capital P, plot of episode 1 isn't a super duper like thought out one, but it definitely is, like, it's coherent. Like, I can't believe I'm fucking saying this, but it's coherent. I get why characters are going where they're going. Like, every scene has a lead into the next scene. Like, they don't do things that just don't make sense for no reason. Like, it's like they're going out to fucking negotiate. And, like, another thing, I like that you put plot in the chat, but, like, another thing, like, fucking, so, okay, we're just talking about Star Wars now, but we're talking about this from, like I said, from a different angle.
You're talking about Star Wars. I started with, like, a subject that we're completely off target now.
We're talking about critique. We're talking about film critique, and it happens to do with Star Wars. What was I saying? Oh,
I was talking about influence that people have.
Okay, well, okay, yeah. Sorry, let me just get this.
But I get what you're saying though, like with the Mike, like the Plinkett review stuff, because like there's some really funny parts which he's talking about, like the Senate, and it's just like the Senator of Valorm, and there's like little kids sitting in front of the TV, like just staring at like this scene of like politics, and they're like
going to argue that this is a movie for babies, because, and it's like, yeah, you're right, it's fucking Yeah, so it has the thing, and like the whole Plinkett thing is just that his way of being a nerd and ranting, which is the whole going out and being himself.
Yeah, which is why they created those characters, and when they did like the Nerd Crew stuff, where they're being satirical,
well, and the funny thing is
that backlash to them later on.
That's way more like poignant of an idea than fucking the Plinkett shit was. Like the Nerd Crew episodes are like, because that's even something that I made a point of in one of my reviews of Star Wars, where I talked about, like, I think it was literally like the Nerdist, like podcast, like Collider podcast or something, where I was just like, what are you guys doing? You look like fucking sportscasters, like making predictions about, like, you know, like, oh, hey man, this guy's got this and this record, and if he kicks this far of a football, like they'll draft him. And it's like at least with sports nerds, it's like, oh, hey, that's actually like based on some like real shit. Like fucking Star Wars is a story, a fantasy story, no less. Like it's a sci-fi, you know, fairy tale, and you're sitting there, you've got 4 dudes sitting around a table, and you're putting all this money into the production value and, you know, everything. Yeah, there you go, those fuckers, like Chris Hardwick and his fucking phaser gun, like, get out of here.
These guys, I've never I've heard of the Nerdist, but I don't even know.
From the Mystery Science Theater reboot?
I don't
not
fucking
Joel,
know,
sorry,
dude.
Not Joel. Joel's the fucking dude from the original Mystery. So what's his name? Somebody in the chat's gonna say it. I'm gonna feel bad.
Well, you should feel bad.
I know, I can't.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Joel, Mike, and then the new guy, and I can't remember his fucking name, but it's definitely him. That's definitely him from MSDQ3. MS3, fucking having a stroke. No, but yeah, I hate everything about this image. Everything you're showing me is like, this just screams male. I'm gonna male, like white male nerd academia, and it's like, oh man, the slow pan, dude. It's just, this is making me feel gross. It's everything that I know that if I went to a theater with these dudes, like they would be like just fucking like Chungo bros the whole fucking time.
Yeah, like we're gonna talk about good Star Wars, man. Hey, cool, man. Did you see the laser explosion?
Yo, bro, what's your favorite color of Kyber crystal? Mine's lukewarm purple.
Like, yeah, not even like interesting, just surface level nerds.
Yeah. Like, and that's the thing, I'm sure those guys are, like, legit, like, quote-unquote nerds. Like, I'm sure they enjoy things to the same level the rest of us do, but, like, hey, it's George Lucas here. Now, I want you to know that when I made Star Wars Episode 1, I knew what I was doing. Everything about it was planned out from ahead of time. I wasn't making up anything. Unlike Disney. Disney planned everything.
Oh my god. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. It just this is the thing. Like, what I was specifically wanting to talk about was the influences on like people saying like, oh, George just ruined it. Everything he touches is just the. It was part of it was like the humanization of George Lucas, what I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
And another part of it was the
What are you photoshopping? Because I know.
Oh, you don't want to know, man. You don't want to know.
All right.
It was the humanization of like George Lucas, but also like the now you're gonna see what's happening here.
Oh no! Oh no! Are you gonna put him in the background, like just behind him, like hello?
No. I got a better idea. But yeah, like it was more the Oh god, let me just get my lines here. The influence on people. So like people would say like, oh, this movie's stupid. Like there's definitely some stuff that's come out of the prequels that have like, you know, like Jar Jar, terrible, throw it in a bin, throw it in the trash, who gives a fuck. The politics stuff, I was like, as a kid, didn't like it, but as an adult, I appreciate it.
I mean,
because that was the whole thing, was like, how did the Empire get like this? How did the rebellion start? And it in terms of from a lore perspective, I'm like, that's really cool.
Yeah. But
from an actual entertaining movies perspective, we're watching people talk about politics. But the idea is that you're meant to be seeing how this man, Palpatine, is slowly manipulating people into creating the Empire, but it was not portrayed in a very interesting way.
There are parts of the prequels that are like fucking fantastic. There are parts of those movies that I can sit there and every time I think about the scenes, I go, I'm so glad that these were put to like celluloid. And then there are parts of those movies where it's just a fucking drag, and I hate every single bit of my life that I'm watching.
Yeah. Like, don't get me wrong, fucking Clone Wars, the Attack of the Clones, sorry.
Yeah, that was the worst one. Hands down.
Like literally, like it's not even like, oh my god, that content aware.
Content aware. It's not even debatable to me. Attack of the Clones is the worst Star Wars movie.
Yeah. For me too. Like it had everything going wrong.
Maybe.
It was entertaining for what it is. It wasn't just like, what is happening?
Oh, of course. It was entertaining for what it was versus versus Attack of the Clones, which is just a literal, like, I hate every second. If I'm doing a rewatch, I typically skip that one. Like, if I can.
Yeah.
Like, I'll find
there's no reason to watch it, you know? Like,
I love how none of these
it's like, I don't like sand.
I don't like sand. There's a line... Oh, here's my boy Chris Stuckman. There's a line in fucking Attack of the Clones that to me sums up everything I hate about the fucking prequel trilogies. And basically the line is that when Count Dooku and Yoda are fighting, Count Dooku says something to the effect of, like, they try to, out-force wield each other. And Count Dooku... This is amazing. And Count Dooku says something to the effect of, he's like, I fear that this fight will not be, won by our prowess of the Force, but instead with our skill with a lightsaber. Yeah, and it's like... And then Yoda does the thing where he pulls out a lightsaber, like the moment that everybody goes, oh no. Like, fucking... Yeah. That's the worst fucking moment in Star Wars. That's where Star Wars dies a little bit for me, like, every time I watch it, because it's just so... I'm sorry, I'm captivated by what you're doing right now, especially because George's plaid looks very similar to the dude in the middle's plaid, and I don't quite... Yeah. I
kind of want to put his head on his head, don't I? Like, it would work so well.
It kind of works. I like it.
George belongs.
George
belongs.
George belongs.
George belongs here.
George part of this.
George, this is George's house.
George lives here.
George lives here now. This is where George lives.
George belongs.
I'm a part of the nerd kid. It's not photoshopped.
George Lucas photoshopping himself into the Nerdist podcast because he's like, I'm part of that.
I'm part of the nerd kid now. This is where I come to do my talking. It just looks so terrible.
Oh, I love it. What were you talking? Oh, so the art or the influence, like what because I got you had more about it, I think, but like what exactly did you like read recently that was like in relation to
It was just us talking, really. It just kind of cracked my mind a little bit, and I was just like, man, because like people are like, oh, dude, this Star Wars movie is amazing. So you have the influence of, oh, this is going to be an amazing film, like because that's what people do. That's just how our brains work. You hear things, people say things. You're like, oh, I'm going to be, this is going to be a good film, and you watch it, and you're like, I don't know if I like that one. You can put me and George a little closer.
Maybe I can just stay a little closer there.
Could you just Photoshop me? Yeah, that's right. Just right, nice and close.
This is the Nerdist podcast, the special edition. Fuck.
Nice and I want to be closer to the center of the screen. Right in the
I just want to be right there. I just want to be real close. Can you just make me nice and close? This is weird. I don't know what this is. I don't know if this is like fan fiction that we've done here or like
what I've done is fucking monstrosity.
That's true. Yeah, this is all you. I can't even claim remote levels of this.
I gotta get George to fit the lighting a bit. There we go. There we go.
There you go.
Now he looks like he belongs.
George belongs.
George belongs. But yeah, no, sorry, I got way off target with this fucking picture I was working on.
You did a me there. You did what I did. We were talking about the
the first podcast.
Yeah.
Well, I had to have my moment, but there we go. That's the family. So it was just it's the influence of like people like to rag on the prequels, and a lot of the time I'm like, so what don't you like about it? And they're like, oh, George, special effects, and yeah, and I'm like, yeah, like Attack of the Clones was just special effects, like shit show, right? Like it just
fucking stormtroopers.
Yeah, it's art. It's art. It's art. It's George Lucas, man. This is art. I just like he fits in perfectly with the little hand wave. Like hey,
I know it looks like he's like, "Hey, I'm here. I'm part of this."
I belong. But it is that like influence of I can't
get over the "I belong."
I belong here. This is where I belong. It's the. People will say things like, oh, Star Wars sucked, like the prequels suck, and then the new ones are better, and you're like, well, are they though? And now people are like, oh, this is a shit show, but yet it's still like one of the biggest grossing movies of all time is like, or Star Wars movies, biggest grossing films. I need to, highest grossing films is the word I was looking for. So Star Wars The Force Awakens, right?
Yeah.
It's number 4. It's number 4 on the list. And the only reason why it's number 4 and not number 3 is Titanic has fucking reshowings that still sort of technically count as grossing.
Yeah.
Yeah, James Cameron has this thing where he like cheats. He cheats the system.
He's like, oh.
It was not. So technically, it could have been number 2. It could have been technically number 2 if it wasn't for Titanic. And Avengers Endgame then came out, so then it got pushed up to position 4 now. But the point being is that movie came out, and everyone was super excited. I was excited, and it had the same effect as like Episode 1. It's like more Star Wars. It's been longer between. Episode 6 and Episode 1 than it had been between Episode 3 and Episode 7, which is the most bizarre thing to explain to somebody who's not familiar with the movie order. George Lucas belongs. I just saw the text.
Yeah, it's very surreal. Like, I mean, I know I understand because it is like, oh, these are prequels. These take place before, but then like, oh, we're doing sequels. It's the first time that the number of the film adds up to the chronological number. Like the 7th movie in the franchise is finally called Episode 7 and not, like the first movie is called Episode 4. the sixth movie in the franchise.
Well, originally
is
it wasn't,
3.
but yeah.
Well, yeah, originally it wasn't, but when you look at it now, like the sixth movie in the franchise, oh, episode 3, no, oh no, like
Yeah. You say episode 3, and people are like, Return of the Jedi. And you're like, no, episode.
I can say the third Star Wars and mean 3 completely different things.
I've sent you the most important image of your life.
Is it on Discord?
Yep.
Oh, thank God. Oh,
So you can put it on.
This is going.
George Lucas belongs with the nerds.
Belongs.
I don't even know who these guys are. They look like a bunch of twats to me.
They're awful.
I've added George Lucas. Fits right in.
Fucking awful. I hate it. Anyway, George Lucas belongs. What the fuck did I save it as?
But yeah, I mean, so yeah, it was just that influence thing. It was also stuff with like, I've had people say to me like, "Oh, this movie's boring. It sucks." And then like years down, I'm like, "Oh, I'll avoid that movie." And then like years down the track, I watch it and I'm like, "That's like one of my favorite films now."
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like it's the whole influencing thing, and it's one of the reasons why I don't like watching trailers, because it spoils the film or whatever, and it influenced me in the way that I'm expecting something. So if I go into a movie blind, I have zero expectations, I have no idea what's coming, and I get to just enjoy the film for what it is and what it was intended to be. If I watch a trailer, I go in and I'm going, when's the AT-STs coming out? When's the AT-ATs? Like
Right.
The Last Jedi. The Last Jedi trailer showed like the ending sequences of the film in the trailer. And it's like, if I had watched that trailer, I would have gone in and then would have been like, so when are they doing the walking scene? There's all this like, you know, ship chasing scene and
Right.
all this sort of stuff. Like, when are they going to have this like Battle of Hoth 2.0?
There's stuff that you're like, we saw this in the trailer, so at some point it has to play, right? And it's like,
Yeah, and that's the expectation and the influence of all of that.
yeah, I you're right. I mean, I try to.
It's fun.
It's fart. I try to go into movies anymore with an open mind. I think a lot of the time too, I'm just going in with like a sense of dread. Like I
hope I didn't just waste like $20.
Yeah, I don't really see movies with like any sort of like optimism anymore. I really do go like I'm wasting my fucking time if like if this is bad. I'll not only have I wasted money, but I've wasted precious time. And yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like the influence of like other people on our tastes is definitely prominent. It's definitely like something to talk about. And it makes you wonder, like, I wonder like how many things out there are like considered classics and they're actually like, oh, actually I have an example, or at least my own personal example. I think the movie Citizen Kane is fucking boring and stupid. And that's not
why it's famous, but yeah.
That's not why it's famous. I know, but like I don't think it's a good movie. I think it's a serviceable movie with a lot of good artistry in it. But I think when I'm actually sitting down and watching it, I find it boring and I find it sort of pretentious, and I'm like, I don't really want to sit here and watch like Orson Welles like fucking masturbate himself for 2 hours. Like I'm not really into it for that. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the whole thing. Like, Citizen Kane was like the first movie to ever do like modern cuts,
Hold
right?
on, before you do anything, are you fucking putting the turtle on George Lucas?
No.
Okay,
no.
good.
I was just gonna give George a little bit of a cleanup.
Just refine some edges. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. So I can like send him to you, and then we can bring him up whenever we start talking about him.
Good. I want to have him available at all times.
And where's Lucas? Bring Lucas on. I need him.
More like Gjord Pucus or Puckus. I don't even know how to pronounce that.
There, now look how clean those edges are. Oh,
edges.
That's a clean Lucas right there.
But anyway, I mean, Citizen Kane aside, like, just I don't know. There are movies that like.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I haven't watched Citizen Kane, but I know for a fact that it's a movie that like basically set up modern cinematography. Blah. Like,
I mean,
the camera shots, the way that a movie's paced, it set all those standards. It doesn't mean it's a good film, but it set that new thing.
It did, but it also like that's another thing. It's very. It's funny to hear you say that. It's very American.
Hashtag George Lucas belongs.
Yeah, George Lucas belongs. We're starting a new hashtag. Tweet that. I want to see George Lucas belongs start trending.
With that trending.
Yeah. It's a very American-centric idea to think that Citizen Kane like invented. Like Russian cinema was doing pretty much everything Citizen Kane did probably 10 years prior to it. We just don't talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I my influences are, very American centric because it's like
Right.
English speaking country, Western centric, I should say, not English, Western. Like, this is the only stuff we had access to, the only stuff we watched. Like that's stuff.
Right.
You talk to like Russians, and then they'll tell you about like all this stuff from back in like the 1920s. We had the film, and it was color, and it was this, and you were like, but it was Wizard of Oz, and they're
Right,
like,
and it's like,
we had that before. What
yeah, we
whatever.
did
I'm just throwing stuff out of my ass, but yeah.
I know. Yeah, it is very much like it's the same fucking thing as like how we talk about like. Well, we were the first people into space. We landed on the moon. It's like we lost every single fucking part of the space race except getting onto the moon first, and we like to declare ourselves the winner. And it's like, bitch,
Yeah.
we did 5%. They did 95%. Like, we did not win. We lost the space race. But we can't say that.
I gotta find that fucking Tumblr. I think I know what you're talking about. That fucking Tumblr post where it was like space race, where it's just like all the probes, all this and that, and then it's just like a picture of like puts like one win. It was like first something in space, and then it's like lands on moon, and then it's like President Nixon with his fingers up, like we won,
and it's like, oh, we did not, buddy. And it's the same thing, like honestly, with pretty much all of technology. Like we love to be like, oh, we did it, and it's like, nah, not really. Like America has, America has.
That's just the propaganda machine at work more than anything, like. I haven't heard anything from the Russians. It's like, that's because your propaganda machine doesn't fucking tell you about the Russians.
But yeah, so I think Citizen Kane is it's okay. I give it an okay out of 10. Like it's not my favorite movie, and it does not go on my list of like, how every like dude bro who thinks he's a cinephile
top 10 list,
top 10 movies of all fucking
Citizen Kane.
Citizen Kane.
It had the Kane and the Citizen.
It had a. It had a Kane and he was a citizen.
Kane.
Wow. Jesus Christ.
It reminds me of the Mega 64. Every year they do the top 10 Chad. I don't even know what they're called. They're like, they've been doing it for like a decade straight, and it I just piss myself laughing at it every time. It's like the two guys are like, top 10, or it's like number 1 game of the year, Madden 2020 or whatever like year it is. Like every single year it's Madden. Like and then they're just like best explosion or best story in a game. And then they're just like most generic things, or like some real fucking, like they take it, The Last of Us 2. I didn't know there was more than one of us, like that. Like it's always like some fucking piss weak like reason for why they like it.
Oh my god, I love Mega 64. I haven't watched a lot of their stuff in a long time.
I just follow their main account, and you'll get the most out of it, really. All right, I got Citizen Kane up on screen.
Nice. I got our boy Georgie.
You gotta minimize. Oh, there we go. Yeah.
I got George.
George Lucas. Hi, welcome to the stream, guys.
Hi guys, welcome to the stream. There you go. If we do a George Lucas episode, we'll just like that. We'll do our George Lucas podcast. It'll just be you and me doing the worst George Lucas impression we can. It's like, hi, welcome to the George Lucas podcast. Today we're going to be talking about Jar Jar Binks and why it was a good idea. So in 1997, I had this idea for a rabbit with really long legs, and I thought, wouldn't that make a great Star Wars character? Originally, I wanted to give him a lightsaber, but they said no. And I said, why not? I'm the boss man who gives all the money. And they said, because, George, that's stupid. I was going somewhere and I lost it.
Yeah, you went fucking bizarro land. I'm George Lucas. I want to talk about, most important thing about movie making. It's getting the effects you always wanted.
Most important thing about movie making is well, that's the funny thing. There's that clip of George Lucas in the 70s. Like, special effects are there to tell a story. You can't make a movie with just special effects. And it's like George,
2020 fucking
2020.
Yep.
Rise of Skywalker. Like, I don't know. That was the Harry Potter theme I started humming. You know?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
How much money did Rise of Skywalker make?
Not enough to be on the top list.
I know, and I know it didn't make a lot compared to, relative to Star Wars movies.
Box office, 1 billion. Not much.
Not much. I mean, that's more than I'll ever see in a fucking lifetime, but in terms of, like I said, in relative
in your
to,
life, I don't think you'll ever see that in fucking ever.
I won't see that ever. I'll see that in 4 lifetimes, and I won't see that.
Where is it on the highest grossing movies? You're grossing. Star Wars. What? I want the wiki page. Why am I getting this fucking?
Does it have, like, how far down does the page go?
32.
32.
So it's The Lion King, the original cartoon is number 50.
Yeah.
It was.
I see Phantom
number
Menace
2.
on there.
Phantom Menace is now 42, was number 2. A lot of these used to be number 2. So at its peak, how many were at the top at its peak? So Avengers has always been number 1. Avatar was number 1. Titanic, Jurassic Park, Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, Episode 1. Harry Potter and Philosopher's Stone was number 2. So at the peak, there was a lot of number 1s.
Right.
And then it just drops like a rock.
And the Rise of Skywalker is fucking down there.
Number 32, and it's always been at 32.
It's always been at 32. Well, I don't know. Fuck it.
We're not talking about a huge amount of difference in money, though. Like,
I guess that's true.
I mean, comparatively
Comparatively speaking, yeah. I mean, it's still on the list of the top 50, so it's like, as far as Disney's
it's making billions.
It's probably, as far as Disney's concerned, they're like, that was good enough.
We made our cash cow off of it,
our cash cow, yeah.
It's kind of sad though, because Force Awakens is number 4, and then it's like Last Jedi, and then Rise of Skywalker. Like, they're just perpetually getting worse.
Yeah, I mean, not that fucking box office returns are any indicator of like quality, but but it is kind of like a people voting with their like dollar sort of thing. Like, you know, people went to see The Force Awakens probably 3 or 4 times.
I saw it twice.
Yeah,
I saw it twice.
I saw it twice. I saw it twice in one weekend because I was.
Me too.
I was for probably opposite reasons, because I was like, I didn't like that at all.
I watched it and I was like, holy shit, that was a lot to take in. We're gonna go watch it tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
So we watched the midnight release, and then we watched it again at like 11 o'clock in that morning. And my brother's like, we're gonna do this, and we did it once, and I'm glad I did it. But at the same time, we were so fucking tired.
I did the same thing. We got it early. We got it that Thursday night. Like, it was like 10 o'clock at night on a Thursday, and it was supposed to release on Friday. So it was like a really early showing. So I went and saw it that Thursday evening, and I remember just like me and the friend who went to go see it. Like we went to the a Starbucks coffee shop outside and like sat down and talked. And I remember just like talking to her for like fucking 2 hours about how much I did, and she liked it, and I was just like, I hated it so much. And I was like, all right, maybe there's some points to it. Maybe she's right. Maybe it's this thing or the other. And so I went to go see it again the next Saturday. So I waited one day basically, and I saw it Saturday morning, and that's the video that's on my channel where I go and see it. So I actually have that video recorded somewhere where I can watch it anytime I want. But not that I do.
I think me and my brother got our reactions on a podcast. Yeah. So
I know we said we weren't gonna make this the Star Wars fucking show, but it's the Star Wars show. I think the thing about The Force Awakens that I said it in my video, and I said it like I'll always say it, is like, I did not like that it was just a rehash of A New Hope. I thought it was boring. It
really was, yeah.
And bringing it all like full circle, I felt they did the exact same thing that we were saying, like Nintendo does. Like, it's the Star Wars you know and love, and it's nothing new's gonna happen except, you know, some new stuff's gonna happen. And I mean, I could go. I think that's an hour. I think that's
fundamentally the problem with any kind of corporate machine, is that I think Red Letter Media talked about it a little bit, and it was the whole, how do you do a sequel? How do you do a continuation? How do you do a sequel? And that was do you do the same thing but different? Or do you do something completely different? And
I don't know.
so you look at something like some of the two all-time classics were Alien and Aliens.
Yeah.
Being two different films. I always have to emphasize the ins. Because it's multiple aliens. Yeah, exactly. But it's still like an absolutely phenomenal sequel. And then you've got Terminator, The Terminator, and
Right.
Terminator 2 Judgment Day. And Terminator 2 Judgment Day is considered like arguably one of the best action films ever made. And you could probably never top it because it did everything right. It didn't do everything over the top. The CG effects were just the right amount for what it was. Mm-hmm. Being the liquid metal guy, being just, like I said, just enough to do what you need to do.
I fucking love Terminator 2. Like,
yeah, it's like I said, arguably one of the best action films ever made because it just has everything in it. It has a chase scene. It has storytelling, it has guns, it has explosions, and ironically enough, the Terminator doesn't kill anybody.
right.
The T-1000 kills people, but the Terminator doesn't kill anybody.
Well, he's not allowed. John Connor tells him not to.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, for an action film where a guy he shoots guns and stuff, but he doesn't kill anybody. And do you know what I mean? Like, it's one of those perfect scenarios where it's like there's so much going for it. So yeah, it's such a fascinating thing for me, like looking at those movies and going like, you know, they took the elements, what makes the Terminator interesting, the unstoppable killing machine, but then they took it in a different direction. Like they sent back another Terminator. Oh, they're just rehashing the same thing. No, because this Terminator, because the first one failed as an artificial intelligence, it said, all right, we're going to send an even more advanced Terminator back this time.
Right.
We're going to send back, you know, something even deadlier. And the humans are like,
Sarah
fuck.
Connor, so let's just kill John Connor. Like,
yeah, because he's a small infant child, right? Like he's not as dangerous. He's
like
a very
10
vulnerable.
years old. He's a fucking asshole. We'll kill him right now. No, yeah.
He's not 10. He's not 10.
He's 13, maybe. I don't know. I don't know how old the actor is, but I know that John Connor is like 13, 14 years old in that movie. He's a wee lad.
Yeah, he's just a teenage kid for sure. Like he's riding a motorbike around and stuff. But but the point being is like you took those key elements like aliens. They took just the alien. What does the alien do when it has access to humans? Does it kill them? Does it eat them? It actually turns itself into a queen and produces like ants do. It just makes more of itself, and it just creates this colony of killing machines, which is it plays into the whole engineer thing of like the engineers created the aliens to just wipe out a civilization. Like they're just the ultimate killing machine, which is the whole.
So I mean, on the same like point that you're making, like, I would even argue that like Empire Strikes Back, like back to what Star Wars, like fucking as a sequel, that's just a little bit more the same but different. Like it's not
and it's not a fantastic sequel,
right? It's not as close as say like Terminator or Aliens in terms of like how much of the same, but it's still like hey, space wizards and destiny and like learning about the Force. It's like, but it's all like amped up to
the mystery of the Force gets a little bit more opened up, but not enough.
And it becomes interesting. And so like, I mean, even Return of the Jedi, for all of its flaws, like it wraps up the story pretty well. And then the prequels, for all of their flaws, like I still get the same like thrill of the tale of a man falling from grace. Like, I mean, it's handled poorly, but I still really enjoy the fall of Anakin Skywalker into Darth Vader. I think it's a very interesting
I think Revenge of the Sith was a fantastic film, it does that really well. And I think if you just watch The Clone Wars into Revenge of the Sith, you get that arc. You get that arc,
and then watch
perfectly.
The final season of the Clone Wars, and you get the perfect, like, you get everything tail ended like perfectly.
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. That's what I mean. Like that.
Yeah,
That's and like I said, that's the expanded, like not expanded universe. That's the ability of having more Star Wars. That's not just films and stuff.
Exactly. But then,
yeah.
like, to wrap it up though, to like pull it back to the start though, like to me though, the Force Awakens, it just didn't. It didn't do anything. It played it entirely too safe for me to like.
And that's the thing. They took one element, which was the Force, and then they recreated everything else. They took artistic liberties with those recreations, like, hey, we're on a desert planet. It's not Tatooine, so
it's Jakku. It's
it's a wasteland, like it's a literal wasteland. It's not like a Tatooine wasteland that's in a central hub area. It's a wasteland in the middle of literal nowhere.
Right.
And so it has those elements of like nothingness. It's just like, I think Rey as a character had potential as the Mary Sue, and I was like, look, she can be a Mary Sue. You can be an intelligent person and work out how to do lots of different things. Her being able to fly a spaceship was a bit of a, you could have parred that off to Finn, and that would have made her less of a Mary Sue.
Yeah, actually, that would have made sense. He could have totally had pilot training in the First Order.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's a lot of things you could go back and just change little tidbits here and there. Get rid, like the. I don't like that they made the. Sorry.
Oh, I was just. I don't mind that she knows how to fight, because I'm sure she learned how to fight on a planet that she was on. Like
you're full of scumbags and stuff, and she trains every day.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like you can be an amazing like person who uses swords and shields and stuff on your own terms. Like that's understandable. It was I think the Starkiller base, I loved and hated it. I hated it that it became the. I hated it because it was a rehash of the Death Star, but I liked the concept of the way the First Order created their Normandy, their D-Day.
Yeah.
Was that they have this thing, they fire it once, they blow up all of the central government, or all of the New Republic, just, annihilate like Coruscant and the New Republic planet and all that sort of stuff. And that's their Normandy. That should have been it. It should have self-destructed. It should have been unstable, and it just blew itself up.
That would have been interesting, but unfortunately we can't do that in a Star Wars movie. You got to have the heroes fly in and blow it up in a trench run scene.
Yeah. But, like, do you know what I mean? Like, these little elements, you could have just changed these things, and they're like, no, we gotta make it like the trench run, and then you get the ace pilot. And I was like, this ace pilot is awesome, but his backstory was not fucking fleshed out at all in the movies. You read the comics.
And then when they did flesh it out a little bit in the movies, you're like, oh, he's totally not gay. And you're like, why can't he be? It doesn't matter.
Why can't... Yeah, like, it was just, and it was just, there was a lot of that kind of shit going on. It was just, like, bizarre, and, I mean, like, his backstory was that he grew up, like, they had the Battle of, Endor. His parents were there, they got together, one of the Force, I think Luke had one of the Force trees, like, it was one of the trees that, like, has a lot of Force infusion. It was something they showed in the Clone Wars TV show. Like a plant that sort of lives and breathes through using the Force. They took that plant, they planted it, and then the kid used to play around it all the time. Like he grew up around it and was born around it, so he was very in touch.
Did this?
Yeah, so he was actually infused with like not necessarily infused, but like very Force sensitive because he was basically radioactively infused with the Force. And that's why he's like an ace pilot with like Jedi reflexes. Okay. But he doesn't realize that he's like Force sensitive.
Because he got fucking...
he grew up next to a Force radiation tree,
the radiation tree, so he's just a fucking Force mutant.
Yeah, so that's the like that's awesome, cool, interesting backstory stuff that just never makes it into the movie.
Stuff to do there. There's interesting ideas to try, and none of it none of it ever gets explored outside of the novelizations, and it's like,
I think the funniest thing out of that trilogy was the like whole Luke flashbacks and R2D2, and he's putting his hand on it, and there's all the fires and the explosions and stuff, and you're like, what's this gonna be? What's gonna be in The Last Jedi? Oh, we're gonna find out about all this, and then Luke's like, I'm gonna throw the lightsaber off the cliff and go, fuck off, I'm bored.
Fuck off.
And it was just like, Luke's character, I understand him becoming a hermit, but like they just did nothing with him. Like he was just there.
Yeah. I mean that's the thing, like I'm not saying he necessarily had to be a proactive character to be anything cool, but like
he could have been just Obi-Wan, like from A New Hope.
He could have I even understand like his mentality of like
not gonna train anybody else.
Like I don't want to train you. I fucked up. Like I thought, and I mean it kind of makes sense because it's like, hey, this dude that I've met like for 3 days showed me how to do this lightsaber shit, and then this other dude who was like a little green frog dude, like he showed me how to do some Force stuff for maybe a month or two. Like I got some training. You know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, I beat Darth Vader, and everybody thinks I'm this legendary Luke Skywalker, and it's like, he didn't
even beat Darth Vader, which is the funny thing.
Like, really, it's like Darth Vader kind of beat himself. Like, Darth Vader, like you got really mad, and you beat the shit out of your dad, and then your dad saved you from the Emperor. Like, you aren't even technically... I mean, he's a hero, but you're not even the hero. Like, you're not the one who actually did the thing that saved the day, but everybody thinks you are. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's a cool concept.
That's a cool concept, and that's the thing. I totally am for like people who complain like, "Oh, Luke Skywalker is like he's an optimist." It's like, no, that's the thing. He was an optimist, and then everybody was like, "Oh, you're the fucking savior. You're Jesus Christ," and he's like, "Oh, I am no such thing." Like, "Oh fuck."
Yeah, he literally got lucky. He got lucky that maybe the Force, like the whole Force works in mysterious ways, and he got lucky that Vader didn't take him out and Han had a change of heart at the last second.
Right.
If Han didn't come back, he wouldn't have done it.
Right.
If Luke was at the back of the group and not the front of the group, he would have died first.
Oh yeah. He would have, if he was the first attempt,
that's the interesting thing.
Blown out of the sky, or space. Like, yeah, he would have been fucking done.
Like Luke wasn't necessarily meant to be like the chosen one. He was just meant to be from what I interpret from okay. I was meaning to say, I watched Empire Strikes Back on the big screen the other weekend. In fact, last weekend, so on like Saturday. Fucking phenomenal. I highly recommend it. It was like I was watching it for the first time. It was just, I couldn't believe it. Like, it blew me away rewatching that film on the big screen. But there's this whole thing where like Obi-Wan and Yoda are like, he's our last hope. And by that, they're not saying he's going to like defeat Darkseid and take over. He's literally the last hope of potentially bringing back the Jedi from the dead. Like he's the last hope that this religion, that this continuation of these people who go around the universe protecting you know what I mean? Like he's not meant to go and defeat the bad guy. That's not the Jedi way. He's the last person who could go around and train other young Jedi. Like he could create more Jedi to help the galaxy flourish again and have these peacekeepers going through the galaxy. And like that was Luke's destiny. He wasn't meant to be defeats the Emperor. Like that was just happened to be his first quest where he was like, I've discovered my father. He was a good man. And rewatching Empire, there's a scene where Vader finds out that Luke's his son, and it's right at the end of the film where they get in the Falcon and they get away.
Oh, you mean when he contacts him with like the Force?
Yeah. And then they're in space and they're going to make the jump to light speed, and R2D2 has to fix it so they can, because it's fixed at Lando's thing, but it gets turned off.
Right.
And he's going to make the jump for it, and then earlier in the film, Vader kills the original admiral, right? Yeah. And the other guy takes his place. The other guy says, "Yes, Vader. The hyperdrive has been disabled, and we'll have them momentarily." Luke gets away, and Vader, the guy looks at Vader like, "I'm dead," and then Vader just looks at him, turns around, and just walks away, because it's like that thing where you can extrapolate. He's actually grateful that Luke got away.
Right.
There was some element of him. There's that.
That's that hint of Anakin Skywalker still behind the monster.
Yeah, and like, I was just like, because I was watching it, I was like, holy shit, I've never really noticed that nuance before.
Honestly,
of like,
neither have
I.
I.
Don't
You're
know
saying this, and I'm like remembering that scene. I'm like, oh shit, you're right. Like,
yeah, so there's like this like little tad bit of like humanizing of like Luke gets away. He doesn't kill anybody. He doesn't blame anybody. He's not like, what did you do, Admiral? I thought you said. He just like dead silent, turns around, walks away. He's like, there's a part of him who is like, I have a son. I actually have a son.
right. And now we know from
like
the prequels, he was told, you know, oh, your wife died.
Your wife
children
and kid
are
were
dead.
destroyed.
Like, yeah, everything you thought you knew is gone. And so, yeah, it even makes that even more, like, heartbreaking. Cause it's like, oh, no.
So, like, that's what I mean, though. Like, he does say to Luke, like, join me and we can be the biggest power in the universe. That's just Vader being caught up in the moment.
Right.
You know, it's an epic moment when he tells him he's his father.
Right.
But it's also one of those things where he's just like, I am glad that he's got away and he's fighting the good fight, in a sense. Vader probably realizes the atrocity, like, the level of atrocities, but he's so knee-deep in Sith fucking... bullshittery that he's like, I can't just turn around and say knee deep in Sith bullshit, because like
bullshit.
The whole Sith bullshit is like, that was the whole thing with the bullshit, the bullsith. It's the whole thing with Palpatine. He like gets like Anakin kills Dooku, like, because he was a failure of an apprentice.
Right.
Like, that's, you know what I mean? Like, if Vader was the failure, which he becomes at the end of Return of the Jedi, Emperor's like, oh, I'll take your son. Your son's that you failed at. You were meant to be the chosen one. You were meant to be the most powerful thing, and now you're a failure. Luke was like, I'll never join you. And then the Emperor was just fucking utterly disappointed that both his apprentice and his potential new apprentice, who was just as his father, both rejected him. Like, they both like, nah. It's, I don't know, it's nah, man. It's just this interesting dynamic that, like, just so good.
I think clearly,
I don't even know what I was originally. I think it was like Luke's story.
I know, yeah. I mean, like always, I've lost track of what we were talking about, but I think I had an idea, like, 'cause I feel like ultimately this would probably be like fun. Truthfully, like, at some point we need to just like dedicate, like, literally, I know it's been done before, but like, let's just do it anyway, because who fucking cares? Just you and I just will dedicate like a couple of episodes to, like, or maybe, I don't know, however many episodes it takes. Like, let's just sit down and watch, not on the stream, but we'll watch like each movie and just talk about them and be like, this is our Star Wars thing, and now we're done with Star Wars. Like, because, and not to make this a Star Wars podcast, but just to have a quick, like,
I don't know if I could do that anytime soon. Not anytime
soon. I'm just saying there's a lot to talk about that you and I mean, every fucking episode so far has gone back to Star Wars in one way or another. Like, I'm not trying to make this a Star Wars podcast. I'm saying,
it's
get
just
it
so
all
very
out,
prevalent
get it all
in
out,
our current lives.
Just get it all out and be like, this is everything I need to say about all of it, and just be, not anytime soon. Maybe a fucking couple months to a year from now, but like, that could be an idea. That, like, just do a Star Wars. Yeah. I noticed the chat
lagged out. Well, it was weird.
Yeah. Not to completely shift gears, but the chat's talking about Breath of the Wild, and I don't know about anything about that.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anything about the new Hyrule Warriors, like Breath of the Wild Hyrule Warriors. I know nothing about it.
I gotta close. I gotta close all this crap. It's something on my computer.
Oh yeah, I can hear it.
Oh, I think it'll show up. Oh god, I can't. I have no control over my mouse. Is it like just lagging out?
A little bit.
I'm sorry, Lucas. You're forever embedded in that picture now. I can't fix it.
He belongs. It's okay.
All right, I think my computer... Oh, no, it's still freaking out. He belongs.
He belongs.
Something is very. Oh, photos. It's the photos. Every time. I don't know what about Windows Photos, but it literally breaks my computer sometimes.
I know, Windows Photos doesn't work for me either.
And then suddenly all my computer usage is. Yeah, it's I think it's improved. I don't know why that happened. I've closed all my windows and everything. I've closed Google Chrome, all the stuff.
Chrome.
All right. Yeah. No. I agree. We got to get it out of the system. And I think, like, it's because I rewatched Empire Strikes Back, and I had those moments where I was watching the film and I was like, man, the mystery of the Force was so cool. Like, I can understand why people just fell in love with the idea of the Force, the Jedi, and everything. Rewatching that, like. I like that day I went to go watch it. I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to watch this film. I'm just a bit tired, I was just a bit worn out. Wasn't really convinced if I should go watch it or not. And then I watched it and I was like, I do not regret that in the slightest. It enthralled me. And I got, like, rewatching it, I got so much out of it. Like, just, I felt like I like watched it again for the first time. Like, I knew what was sort of coming, but at the same time, it felt like the first time again. Which is not something you can say for a lot of film.
No, I agree. That's
Damn.
It's a magical moment. Getting to experience something like that in that same sense.
Moments.
Do you have any? Did you have anything like else?
Yeah. So
What?
Pressing, not pressing.
Well,
no.
not pressing, but I think we have
Hello?
time. I think we have. Yeah, I'm still here. Can you hear me? I think we have time for one more topic because we've hit about 2.5 hour mark and it's now midnight here and I feel it starting to drag on me a little bit. So
getting us sleeps.
Yeah, so I think we have time for one more topic. What else did you have on your checklist?
My little checklist. I have like a subject about education, talking about education, like the world we live in now. That's probably not.
That's later.
Too dissimilar to what we're talking about right now, but might be.
Yeah,
I was going to say that seems like a pretty in-depth conversation. I've got like the differences between like drawn animation, 3D animation, and filmmaking, and all that sort of interesting perspective stuff.
That's definitely interesting.
I guess one that we. Yeah, I got also shotgun filmmaking, sort of the stuff we've been getting into recently, and sort of like how we're, in a sense, living in a time where we can just do movies and shows and stuff and have no one to fucking dictate that for us. Like, I wanted to get into that a little bit. I think this one subject... I think it will be a relatively short one, which was simply childhood retrospective on our modern gaming setups and collections. Just thinking back to when we were kids.
Uh-huh.
Yeah?
Can you hear me?
So like just sort of like, you remember as a kid, you'd be like, yeah, I can hear you. It's just the delay is weird.
Oh yeah, that's weird. There's like a delay.
Just thinking back to when we were kids. Oh, really? Oh,
yeah,
that's real.
Yeah, you're
Hold
like...
on. Let's just... I'm going to leave and rejoin Mumble real quick.
Okay.
Hacker left channel and disconnected.
I'm so glad there's text to speech.
Hacker connected and entered channel.
All right, how do I sound now? Am I...
Well, you see, the audio never dropped. It was just that there was like, I would say something and there's like this pause where you'd listen to me say it and then respond to me. Like, it was like we weren't talking in like real time. It was weird.
Yeah. No, that was my computer like locking up. I think it was desyncing it by like a quarter of a second every time it locked up. So it was just perpetually got to the point out.
I'm so glad that Mumble has the fucking text to speech. So when it was like Packer has left the channel, Packer has, and it's just perfect. It was like stupid and it made me happy. Okay, so anyway, so childhood nostalgia on modern gaming collection. Like, what do you mean by that?
So like, looking at it, so imagine that we're like when we were kids, like, so we had like, I had an N64 and it's like, man, I want to have every game on the shelf. I want to have, like the idea of like our game collection, like your game collection is fucking humongous by comparison to mine.
Mine is a little unfortunate at how big it's gotten over the years. Yeah.
Yeah,
and it's just unfortunate, but like I haven't spent a lot of money on it. It's just rather like stuff I keep getting, like.
Yep. Oh, I've got like 10 copies of like Madden and that kind of shit, like
Game
just
of
for
the year.
packs and stuff. Game of the year. But I was more specifically wanting to talk about like I remember as a kid like, whoa, when I grow up, I want to have like the idea of having like an N64 and a PlayStation at the same time kind of like blew my mind. Do you know what I mean? Like all of that sort of stuff. And now that I'm an adult, it's like I need less of this.
Yeah. So I mean, my childhood experience, basically, so when I was like a really little kid, my parents had a Sega Genesis, or Mega Drive,
Yep.
whatever. Yeah, and this was like before I was even born. Like my parents had this thing. Like my mom was playing Shove It, which is like a box puzzle game. She was playing that game like when she was pregnant with me. So my parents were very much of the mindset that like one video game console is enough. And so when I'm growing up, I'm a little kid, I only have a Sega Genesis. And I have a Sega Genesis probably from 1993, like the year I was born, till probably about 2003. I had this thing for 10 fucking years. And, which they had stopped making games in like 1998 or whatever, So like I was playing I was just kind of stuck playing like Sonic the Hedgehog 3 because it's all I had. Like, I didn't know. I had friends, like I had friends and like relatives, like cousins. I had friends. I had like a cousin who had a PlayStation 1, and I had like a friend who had an N64, and like I played them that way. Like it wasn't that I wasn't totally experiencing these things, like completely not experiencing them. I was, but it was a matter of like I missed the entirety of the first 3D generation. Like, what is it? The 5th generation? Like PlayStation.
It was like
1
Nintendo 64, PlayStation 1. Yeah.
Is that 5th gen?
I don't even
I
know,
don't remember.
man.
It doesn't matter. Whatever generation, I missed that generation essentially. I didn't get a new console until the PS2. So I went from a Sega Genesis to a PlayStation 2, and you can imagine just how like fucking floored I was at like
the graphics, the everything,
the leaps and the bounds that I took. But yeah, so like, and that was kind of like the beginning of the end when it comes to like collecting games, because once I had a PS2, I was like, this is great. But then I remember a friend like playing fucking like a GameCube, and like he had a GameCube, and I was like, I want to play Animal Crossing. This is so cool. I want to play that game. So like, then the GameCube went on sale for like $100 at like the sort of the end of its life cycle. So we picked up a GameCube, and then now I had access to Animal Crossing and Mario Kart and like all these Nintendo properties that I'd never had before. And then like, yeah, that was sort of what made me go, there are more than one game console out there. So like,
yeah,
it became a matter of like the fear of missing out, I guess. Like once I had a PS2 and a GameCube, I never had an Xbox, but I wish I had. Like once I had those two things, I was like, well, I don't want to miss anything. So it was like, the Xbox 360 comes out, so I save up my money, I buy that. The PS3 comes out, I save my money, I buy that. The Wii comes out, I save my money, I buy that.
I had a bit of that when I was a kid as well.
Yeah,
I would stick to one type of a console, which is PlayStation in my case.
Yeah.
But I would be like, new one's out, I want to buy it.
I knew I needed to have the majority. I didn't want to be stuck. I think it was because being a kid, like growing up with the Sega Genesis, and everybody else had a fucking Super Nintendo or whatever. Like,
you had no fucking variety, and now that you were denied the variety, you just can't help but want nothing but variety.
I needed that variety. I was like, I can't be stuck. I can't decide. Like, you can't tell me, oh, I can only play Uncharted, or oh, I can only play Halo 3, or oh, I can only play Gears of War, or oh, sorry, you can only play like Killzone or whatever. Like, I was like, I don't like that. I don't like that idea. I was like, I need to be able to do all of those things and experience gaming for its entirety. So that kind of began my like childhood obsession with like game collecting. And then at that point, you're talking probably, I think, in the mid 2000s. That's when I first found out about like Angry Video Game Nerd and like the video game reviewers. And like, I mean, well, like, you know, like seeing his like game room, like on his videos, like seeing how
that was inspiring.
That was inspiring. Like the very aesthetic like that he like had in his game room is like something that I literally like aspired to have as well. In fact,
despite the fact that it was just wall to wall of just shelves. It was like, oh my god, I want that collection, but the like actual setup was just trash.
Oh yeah, it really was. I'll pull something up here too, actually, that you can see, because you can see it in this. So this is a commercial that I helped shoot. So it's actually on my website, but it's in my basement back when it looked the way it did.
I gotta get that freaking. I gotta get the stream back up.
So
to
this
close
was
it.
my basement. Let me pull up my desktop. Oh, I see you have the yeah. So okay, so you can see. So here's my basement as it was. It's no longer like this. It's now a reptile room. Like my basement is now entirely wall-to-wall lizards, but that's a completely different. Like that's Taylor's hobby. And then here's like the Angry Video Game Nerd. I'm just cycling between our desktops, but you can see. Do you see the aesthetic?
How much it looks the same?
How much I wanted it to look like. Now, granted, for this commercial, we added some things that I don't normally have up, like that Batman standee, and like some of the posters and things are not technically mine. I made them, we got them specifically for the shoot. The television isn't normally on this wall. It was actually against the wall to the left of the dude in the purple.
Yeah, you can see the TV stand's clearly in a weird spot.
Yeah, it's not where it's supposed to be, but you get the idea. Like I modeled this like basement setting after my hero of the Angry Video Game Nerd. And so what was I saying? Oh, so that's like that was me 2 or 3 years ago. And now so I've moved back into this house, but I'm no longer in the basement. I'm now in my own like room upstairs. Now I had to move everything from down there to up here. I realized just how much of it I had and how much of it I was like, I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
There is so much of it now where I'm like, I don't need this. Like, I don't need this many video games. I don't have the space. I don't want to have the space. Like,
yeah, no, it's that was more or less the sort of like bridge. I think you bridged it more or less the same way I was going to bridge this whole subject. Was as a kid, this is the ideal, right? This is like, I want this. This is amazing. I could play any game I ever wanted. And then you walk into this room, and you play nothing.
Right. Oh, I have so many games that I know I've never touched that I bought just because they would look good on my shelf. Like,
yeah. Oh wow. I play all my collection. I actually I shouldn't say that. I haven't touched most of my PlayStation 2 collection. So my PlayStation 2 collection got bigger because people were just like, oh, I found this at a garage sale or whatever, and it's always just the most generic shitty games, and they're always absolute horrible condition.
Oh yeah. That's typically how I picked up a lot of it too. But
yeah. So with my collection, I don't have a picture, or do I? Ooh, this could be tricky. I might be able to get a picture up in the meantime, but oh god, no, I've definitely lost it. Okay, I've gone insane. My collection is how do I explain it? So on your picture on your screen, you've got the shelf on the right, that tall shelf with the 2 lamps on it.
Yeah.
That's about as tall. I've got basically 2 of those full of my games. That's it. No more.
Okay. That's just my VHS collection.
Yeah, so I actually have more than that sitting in boxes, but I'm just like, that's literally my limit now. Like, I do not want to go beyond that, because that's a collection, and then those are just the nostalgic games. Yeah. What I was going to also jump into was the EverDrive stuff. I was a bit skeptical about EverDrive. And then, so this is the version I've got, which I'll blow up. and it's super low res, so that doesn't help. But this is just like a cart that you can plug into the N64, and then you can load up all the game's ROMs, like the entire console's collection of ROMs, into one SD card. And then you've just literally got at your fingertips, you just go through a list, pick what game you want to play, hit play, runs exactly like it does with the like actual cartridge. So there's no weird shit going on. There's no you know, having to modify your like console or anything. It just runs.
Right.
And I've hit the point now where I'm like, I will pay like $250, like $250 to get an EverDrive cart to just have that entire console on that cart, so I don't have wall-to-wall shelves of games anymore. Like, this, as a kid, was this idealistic way to live, and it's like, it's the gaming room, we can play anything, and then people are like, oh, let's play GoldenEye. You know what I mean? Like, GoldenEye just sits in the N64, because that's the only one people will ever want to play with me, or maybe Perfect Dark or something, or Conkers. Like, you've got, like, a handful of games. And so it's like, well, I'll just put the card in and we can pick from the list, and like, because that's what's going to happen anyway. Like, it's only going to be about 3 games. I actually completed several games playthrough on the cart, like, and I even know I have that exact game on an actual original cartridge sitting on my shelf. And now they've just become like display pieces. I've got them sitting facing out, like I bought not refurbished, somebody does custom reprints of like the game boxes, and from a distance you will never know the difference, and it looks amazing, and it's like I paid a fraction of the price I would for like an original. And it's just, I don't know, it's like I built an arcade machine, what I've got sitting right next to me. I know I'm sort of tangenting a little bit, but I built an arcade machine and I've put a Raspberry Pi in it, and now it does like so many arcade games that I would never have access to, because like a whole arcade cabinet for a single game is insane. Like, I wouldn't do that. And then I've got this entire cabinet that has all my favorite games, runs an old tube TV, so I can also run like light gun games on it and stuff. Like, it's, you know what I mean? Like, it does everything, and it's just one machine. It's like one shelf's worth of space. So I just, like, I've gone from like, oh my god, I could have all the stuff in the world, to like, I don't want any of it anymore. Like, I only want, like, I want my wall of gaming, like a gaming, like a console, what do you call them, like, shelf or something? What do you,
shelving unit, I don't know. Like a...
Yeah, so like a lot of people
cube.
Do stuff like this.
Yeah, no,
where you've got like this sort of a thing.
This is
an extreme.
That's too many. I appreciate that they have that many, but good lord.
Yeah, that's like 7 versions of Xbox. Like, that's really love silly.
I love the black with red lighting. I think that's a cool fucking way to display.
Or just red painted boxes with white lights.
White lights, yeah, whatever it is, yeah.
But yeah, like, this is the kind of ideal setup for me now, where it's just each one of these things has an EverDrive card in it.
Yeah.
And then I can just boot up just
whatever
plug
you
it.
Want.
You got like an ottoman, like an ottoman with a hole, with storage in it, and you just got one of each controller in it. And if you've got friends coming over, then you rip out like a second controller from like your storage box behind this shelf or whatever. Like, that's the ideal. Like, I just want to hit a switch. I want to throw in, I just want to hit a switch on the console. I want to turn the TV on and maybe hit like a video switch and done. Don't want to fuck around with it anymore.
Everything
I've even got to,
about this picture is giving me like the worst anxiety.
Just too much.
It's too much. It's like, it is. It's actually too much, like, sitting. Well, what I
think something like this wouldn't be bad.
No, that's very clean. I like that. I actually like that a lot.
Yeah.
That reminds me of like old GameCube commercials. I don't know why, but like there's something about that. What I was gonna say, like, I feel the same way. Like, I still love playing things on original hardware. I think there's still a purity to that I'm about. Like, I could emulate everything, but it's like, it's not quite the same as like booting up my N64 and actually turning it on and playing games on it.
Yeah.
But like you said, like, but the game itself like I don't necessarily need to have the physical game and have it in front of me and pushing it into the cartridge slot. I'm perfect, like you said, I'm just gonna go, which game do I want to play, and I'm gonna pick and go that one. So it's like, why not just cut out all of the stupid, like, especially like you said, the price of games, like especially N64 games. If you're trying to get them in box with a good condition box, you're paying probably $200 for some of those things. Like, it's expensive.
Yeah.
And like, so sort of to what you were saying too, like when it comes to like reproductions, like actually I have a story about that where I have a reproduction cart of, I think I've told you about this, I have a reproduction cart of Earthbound, a game that if you're familiar with game collecting is literally like cartridge alone like $300, in box is like $500, $600. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a cheap, like, it's the cost of a new console to get just Earthbound. And I found a reproduction cartridge that looks damn near identical. I mean, the you can tell it's a repro because of the sticker is just a little bit different. It's clearly like printed on a newer thing. But like, otherwise completely couldn't tell. It goes into your Super Nintendo, you turn it on, it plays actual Earthbound, the game, on your Super Nintendo. And it's like...
in the exact same way,
the exact same way I would have played it when it came out. And it's like, why don't more people just do this? If you must have the cartridge, like, why not just do this? Or, like you said, get the Evercart, load up an SD card inside of it that has every single ROM available to you, and just play it. Like, it's one of those things where it's like we're gonna untrain our brains for this sort of stuff. I've gotten very good at it over the years. My collection has like stopped a couple of years ago. I got into Lego collecting, which again is another fucking pitfall in and of itself. I got into like Star Wars specific Lego collecting. I'm gonna keep all of it. If I get to the point where I'm like, I'm done with this, I will just resell it for fucking bajillions because Star Wars Lego. Oh, it'll hold its value, especially if you still have the boxes.
Oh yeah, the boxes are all folded up in like a storage container, so they won't.
Then you probably will have a small fortune in 10 years, like.
Yeah. Well, it won't be like it's more fortune in the sense that I'm probably going to get more than what I paid for it, but not necessarily a lot more.
Yeah, no, not like crazy a lot, but enough that you're like, hey, this was worth it.
Like, it pays for itself.
Yeah, exactly. So.
it pays for itself, which is the important thing. But yeah, like it just like. I've been detraining myself to get things, and I'm like, if I say if I go to like a Goodwill equivalent and see like Duke Nukem 3D original box, I'll pick that up.
Yeah.
That's a classic. That's something I enjoyed as a kid and played, and that is like nostalgia attached to it.
Right.
If I go in there and I see World of Warcraft like used collector's edition box, I'll be like, I don't care. Right. I played that game for a year. It's devalued. Like, unless I know I can make money off it, I don't want to touch it. Like, I don't need that on my shelf. I've got a whole shelf dedicated to the game cards that I collected over the years.
Yeah.
I want to get rid of them. I just kind of held on to them because I'm like, wow, it's like a game physical box, but for a game card. It was a bizarre time. But I want to, like, you know, maybe just par those off to somebody who would actually give a shit about them, or sell them for like, here's like a, you know, $10 for 10 boxes, and you can make your, like, you know, this World of Warcraft wallpaper with them, or whatever the fuck you want to do.
Whatever you're doing.
Yeah, but like at this point, I'm trying to get rid of things, and I'm trying to downscale. I've noticed that there's like a PSIO or something coming out for the PlayStation 1, or it's already out. You can plug it into the back. Again, load up all the PlayStation ROMs you want onto it, and the PlayStation just accepts it. You don't even need, like, I don't even think you need to modify your PlayStation. As long as it's an old school PS1 fat, you're good to go. And again, Super Nintendo, PlayStation 2, I've got quietly got a soft modded version of my PlayStation 2 where I've got the hard drive in the back. Again, games I load up into it, whatever games I want. I only load up the ones I want. I don't get all the other crap. PS4 and PS3, I have no idea about. They're getting into that, like, areas of DRM getting a little bit too extreme, and
yeah, it's not as easy to
I'm sure if I just leave them for a long time, don't update them, don't touch them, eventually they will just come to their into their own sort of.
Well,
We've made it so you can play.
Yeah, eventually hackers will find their way into it, like they do everything, and they'll go, "Hey, we found a way that like plug this thing into your USB, and then you can boot off of any backup disk." Like, okay, cool.
Yeah, and then suddenly we can use them like new old stock kind of thing,
right?
Where they like we can just do whatever we want. We don't need anything crazy. So yeah, like there's just options now, and I like even posters. I don't like posters anymore. Like I used to like I collected a heap, and now I'm like I just want them off my fucking walls. Like
I used to be. I had a Halo 3 poster that I got when Halo 3 was like a thing. And I had it up in my bedroom as like a 14-year-old, 13-year-old kid who was like super into Halo. And like it just kind of had like a nostalgia thing for me. So every time I would move rooms, the Halo 3 poster went with me. And and then it was, I think, a couple years ago, I had it hanging up in my mom's basement when I was living, the last time I was living in my mom's house, before I finally like moved out. And I was like, I don't care about this anymore. Like Halo 3 it wasn't even that I took it down and when I moved I was like that's it. It was I took it down and it got put into like a shelf somewhere, and then like one day I was like over there cleaning up all my stuff, like just going because my mom's like cleaning up her basement. She's like planning on moving probably in a month or not a month, in like a year or two, so she's like trying to clean everything up. So she's like, you got to come over and go through your stuff. And I was like, okay, cool. So like I'm going through it and I found all my old like like the Dark Knight, like the Joker, and like like stuff that I was into.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know for a fact that if I really ever wanted these again, I mean, hell, I don't even necessarily have to buy them retail. I could probably print them myself if I had to. But B, I'm just not into these things anymore. I mean, I am, but not to the extent where I go, I need a physical poster on my wall that says, look at the thing that I like. Like, it no longer has the same appeal, and I think that is just part of getting older, and I wonder if more people feel the same way. In fact, actually, everybody who's in the chat right now, if you are, like, 25 or older, like you're starting to reach into your like your third decade of life, and you're like finally into like adult, like I want to know, do you feel the same way? Like, do you feel that like I don't need the things that I'm asking because it's like, is this like a universal human experience? Has everybody gone through this when they start to become like an adult where you're just like, I'm done, I'm shedding myself of these childish things, like, and I'm just curious if that's a thing.
I think it's more to do with like the practicality. So like, okay, so this picture I've got up right now, this is clearly somebody has set this up, and like an adult has set this up, where they're like, I'm going to have a nice little lighting area for my games. I'm going to have like a little area for the big fat TVs and stuff, so they're not in the way. So it's like they've modernized their way of collecting and storing things away and stuff. So you've created like a place to like, this is where we can do all this cool, awesome gaming, but at the same time, it's still practical and it doesn't look like just a kid's basement full of random fucking assortments of shelves and TVs. Do you know what I mean? Like that's the kind of, like, this is a clean setup opposed to this, where this is like a kid's basement setup.
My basement used to look.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not saying like it's a bad thing. That's just I think it's because like, as kids, we get hand-me-downs. We go, hey, you can have the old living room couch, and you're like, I got my own couch.
Yes.
And then, and as a like a mid-20s adult, you're like, fuck, I hate this couch. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you just buy another one. You'll replace it. You'll put something that actually fits the fucking room, and not some hand-me-down that you forced into the room because it's the only way you could get a TV, like a TV stand and a fucking couch. It's like, no, I like in my room right now that I'm in, I've got a 2-seated couch in it, and that's just so I could sit on it and just chill out, or me and my girlfriend can sit on it and just watch a movie and stuff. Right. That's it. It's practical. It's small, and I can move it around by myself. It's not like some cumbersome piece of crap. And I think a lot of that sort of having a clean gaming shelf, having a clean gaming room, getting rid of these unnecessarily collections, because it's like, if I cleared AVGN's like, basement of all these games, how much fucking shelving space do you have then? Like, how much space to put. I mean, the question then turns into what do you then put on the shelf? And it's like, well, I guess I could put my gaming stuff on the shelf.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like but it's like if you cleaned half of this out, you could have more room. And like I think of more modern applications like VR.
Yeah.
Like I love to do my HTC Vive. This AVGN room would be perfect if this fucking couch wasn't in the way, you know?
Right.
You've got this huge open area. He's like sitting, and look how small he is compared to the rest of the room. So he could like move the couch out, and he's suddenly got this massive play area, you know? Like, and if you got rid of these like shelves and only had one shelf with a small amount of collection, then you've got even better, you know? Like, it's just that's the way I look at games collections, and you know my collections as a kid, and I was actually going to just segue into the fact that like I've been building an arcade machine for my brother. A little one that sits on the so I've been hand building this whole thing outside of obviously like the screen and stuff and by the buttons, but I've been doing all the woodwork on it and painting it and then doing like 3D prints for all the like components and stuff. But I've been building this for my brother. He doesn't know I'm building it, and I'm just like, fuck, this is actually amazing, because this little fucking thing, like, this is the size of a seat sitting next to it. Like,
right.
it will sit in a chair comfortably. You can put a chair up to it. It's the perfect height, so when you're sitting in a chair, like, it just works on a tabletop. Like, and it's just like, this is all you need. And what I've got is some ginormous fucking arcade machine that's like the size, like it's taller than me when I stand up. Like this is just me doing like coloring and working things out and doing all the painting, and you got like the retro pie on it. And like I said, it's just all the games are in one. This is like the mess I'm living in right now, by the way. Like all this stuff. I've got all this like Millennium Falcon Lego and
I feel that.
yeah, but like that's the thing. I'm actually when I'm moving out, I'm actually having to downsize, and one of the ways I'm downsizing is I'm actually disassembling all my Lego collection. Actually no, I'm disassembling all my Lego collection, and then I'm building a coffee table for my Ultimate Edition Lego Millennium Falcon. So this was like my initial concept. Like I knew the screen size. I knew roughly how big I wanted things, and I just sort of threw things together and get a pretty good concept. And this is how I did all my measuring and stuff too.
Right,
so
to make sure everything would
fit. Yeah. Oh my god, I don't know why I hate fucking Windows Photo. Like, just stop. Let me zoom in so I can change the picture.
It doesn't work like it used to, and that's why I hate it.
Yeah, so you got like me trying Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, and that runs just fine.
Nice.
This is me doing the 3D printing of the volume control. This is what it sort of looks like in the guts. Got the speakers and everything. So like these are just speakers I took out of like a $10 speakers. That's like the little thing I 3D printed a bracket for. I built like a 3D printed a bracket for that. So like DIY stuff I'm finding more satisfying to do than to just buy shit, you know? Like I'm actually, instead of getting a massive collection, I'm building my own arcade machine and customizing it the way I want, that handles the stuff that I want, rather than just having mountains of games and having 700 consoles plugged in at all times. But yeah, I think there's a certain level of, we are getting older, but I don't like to just par it off as a, you know, like, oh, we're just getting older, therefore we don't like these things. I think a lot of the old school posters, I've had like the Donkey Kong one up, and people walked in and going like, what is that? That's weird. Do you know what I mean? Like, like as a kid, you're like, it's Donkey Kong. And as an adult, you're like, yeah, I have to explain this, and it's a bit weird. It doesn't quite work if you're not familiar with old games and stuff. Like, yeah, it's Donkey Kong, man. God, I just remember that fucking Adam.
It's like, do you remember fucking? It's like how the movie fucking Ready Player One like presented everything about itself. Like, do you remember Donkey Kong? Remember the Iron Giant? Remember Back to the Future? Remember fucking all this shit? Like, yeah, sure, but
it's Battletoads, dude.
It's Battletoads, dude.
It was just whatever franchise they could throw in, and then they're just in the background walking, like running or something. They weren't actually fucking doing anything with the franchise. It was just there.
So yeah, fucking, that's like, to me, I think what my feelings on nostalgia have sort of become lately is, it's like, I still have nostalgia for stuff, but it's in a completely different appreciation. It's not a matter of, do you remember Battletoads? I have Battletoads. Like it's more like, hey, I remember Battletoads. That game
Reinforcements
was really
have
hard.
arrived.
Oh my god. The fuck
I
was
just
that?
somebody just fucking subbed to my channel. What? The sub like followed me on my fucking Twitch channel. What the hell?
That's amazing that
Someone
it played over this fucking. You got a subscriber out of this. Somebody subscribed to you because they were watching this podcast.
Oh, they followed me. Yeah,
There you
probably.
go.
That was the weirdest freaking thing to have happen.
There you go.
Yeah, no, like that's the thing. It's like that's why I'm like I have my nostalgia pieces. So I have like Majora's Mask, Ocarina of Time, Super Mario All Star, like the Super Nintendo version. Like I'll have those in the boxes sitting on the shelves. Like if I go back to this AVGN stuff, like so instead of having wall to wall, like all these boxes lined side by side, I'd have the like big boxes turn facing like inside the room as like like someone putting a photo on the shelf or something.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I would set up my gaming room. Like I
Right.
wouldn't have wall to wall of this stuff. Like I'd downsize it to the games that I'm most passionate about. Like Majora's Mask is a big one, Conker's Bad Fur Day, GoldenEye and that sort of stuff. And then with all of that, then I could, just display what I want and then can just have so much spare room for like maybe I need to put a bit of storage on the shelves or somewhere to put other things and not just wall-to-wall games. I don't know, it was just as a kid, you're like I want to be like AVGN, and as an adult you're like AVGN needs to grow the fuck up.
I mean, it's like he clearly like has a thing and it's like how he makes money, so I get why he doesn't change, but yeah, it is where you're like, I want to be AVGN, and then you realize you're like, I do not want that anymore. I want to be much cleaner than that.
This is like, as an 18-year-old, this is like the fucking bee's knee.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
you go spare TV, get the couch, the inherited couch. You get the mat that's clearly falling apart on certain sides, and yeah,
Right, exactly.
like yeah, that was a thing for sure. Skyweaver says, do you think they will do a Zelda 3D collection for the Zelda 35th anniversary coming up? I will say that would be awesome. I would buy that on Switch in a heartbeat, just because the Zelda 3DS version was an amazing game, but it's too small, man. It's
Yeah,
bigger.
no, I feel the same. Like I every time I see a copy of like Majora's Mask or Ocarina like 3D come into the store, and I'm like, I could buy that. I could play that on my 3DS, and I think to myself, it's like, yeah, but
I
do I
have
really
to get that
do I
out.
really want that tiny fucking screen? Like, no, not really. I'll play the normal.
I got an XL, but it's still like
I have an
it
XL
was-
too. I have an XL too, and it's still like, yeah, I mean, it's just not. It's good for what it is, but it's just not as big as I would want that game to be present. Now, that would be the game that I would love to see them like. Maybe not necessarily remaster, but at the very least, give me that widescreen support. Give me the texture update. Like, try to make that game look as nice as you can, because it's like that would be.
I think some people have tried to like, or have actually, in fact, taken the textures from the 3DS version and put them into the like a PC ROM version. There's a lot more 3D Zelda. Do you think they would include more than 3 titles? I want the 64 Zeldas, but I also like Wind Waker, Twilight Princess HD. I mean, those are already on Wii U, which would be like, they're already up to date. They just need to be up-resed for Switch. So I would hope they would do that, but
I could see them doing like a
those were actually good games. I'm gonna play those. I bought those for Wii U and never fucking played them.
Really?
They're still in box.
Oh,
I got the collector's edition. They're in box.
That's like, to me, that's like what my Wii U has basically become right now. Is it's my Wind Waker machine. Like, it sits in my living room specifically for when I want to turn on Wind Waker and play that, because it's like the best way to play Wind Waker.
Yeah,
I think
Twilight Princess too. Actually.
Yeah, I don't have Twilight Princess. I still have that on my Wii, so but it's like I should probably get the Wii U version. It would be better.
I have it on GameCube.
Do you? That's the more expensive one.
Yeah, I don't even know how I got that.
I don't either. But I think the way I could see them doing it, I think if they were gonna port Zelda 3D titles, I could see them doing like a sort of like the way they did the 3-pack of Mario. I could see them being like, here's like, you know, Ocarina, Majora's Mask, and maybe like ports of the original
Super Nintendo version.
there you go. A Link to the Past. That would be cool because that would defeat the purpose of their like virtual console thing that you pay for. But whatever. Like A Link to the Past, Ocarina of Time, and Majora's Mask on one thing, and then they make a secondary thing where they port over the HD remake of Wind Waker, the HD remake of Twilight Princess, and if people really wanted it, they could make a new HD remake of like Skyward Sword or something, and like that would be the two titles that they would be like, here's Zelda 1 and Zelda 2. Because the thing is, it's like, though, what they'd probably do is they'd do like, here's Ocarina, here's Majora, it's on a thing, and they're ports of the DS version. Good luck. Like that's how I think they would do it.
Yeah, I think that Nintendo's gotten a little bit lazy in that respect. Like the All-Stars thing, there's clearly like 2 people had to port it programming wise, and then they were like, oh, we'll just get the artist to update bits and pieces of it.
Right.
And then they just called it a day. Like, I think the porting is the biggest thing. Link to the Past is already on the SNES Nintendo Online, so I think it would be after that one. Yeah, I mean, it would be cool if they did it, but at the same time, I'm like, I do still have access to the originals. I still have access to these other HD versions. I would love to have. Sorry, did you? Yeah, okay.
I mean, I played Link's Awakening on the Switch, like, because I never had a Game Boy, like. Well, obviously, I told my story about being a Genesis kid until fucking 2002, but like I never had a Game Boy of my own, so like I never really played that game. I saw people playing it, like I saw someone play it, and I go, oh, that's neat, Zelda. I knew what Zelda was, but it was like, yeah, but like I never played that game in its entirety. So when the Link's Awakening on the Switch came out, like I got a copy and I played it. And I was like, this is really fucking cool. Like this was a really good idea. I'm glad they did this. Like. That's to me, that's the best way to do a fucking, if you're gonna port over a game I guess I should put it this way. If you're going to port over a game at all, it has to have something in it that makes it like worth being on the new hardware, because otherwise it's literally like what he said, it's like the online mode for like the SNES Online, like it's fucking just a port, or not even a port, it's just a virtual console, like
it's just an emulation thing.
Like fucking okay, so like PS4 version of like the Uncharted trilogy comes out, and that's like the Nathan Drake collection. And those games are already in HD. Those games are already pretty high poly. There's not really much you could do to it except maybe a texture update and maybe a frame rate update or something.
Resolution,
maybe. Yeah, but it's like, but what they did different was they said, "Hey, Uncharted 4 is coming out. Guess what? Now you can play all 3 Uncharteds on one disc." Like that's the appeal of buying the Nathan Drake collection, because you're like, well, I could just play all 3. It's like, yeah, you could, or for one price you can have 3 games, and they're all on your PS4. When Uncharted 4 comes out, you're ready to play Uncharted 4 because you're caught up on the story, and it's like, okay, that makes sense to me. That's a good reason to port over some titles. The Super Mario one, like, bringing it back to what we were talking about, like, I don't know, just like. I do think it's cool. I think it's definitely neat that they're doing it. I know a lot of people were excited and they wanted it. They're like, I want to play, fucking Sunshine.
Mario 64 hasn't been
re-released.
Yeah, those haven't been re-released since they were released.
But there you go though. It's like, if it's literally just basically an emulation, then it's like, couldn't I just, I know it's not the legal way, but it's like, how is that any different from me like hacking my PSP to play N64 games? If you want to play Super Mario 64 on the go, get a PS Vita, get it homebrew modded, and you can install N64 for free, and it's essentially the same thing. You know what I mean?
You have to spend 50 times the amount just to get that all set up, but yeah.
Well, okay, yeah, there's more effort to it. I'm not saying that it's not like, it's not the easiest way to do it.
I'm just stirring the pot.
I know, but for like the same experience, for the same aesthetic experience, I think you could find the same way to do it. But I don't know.
And you get more options on those as well. Like a lot of the Nintendo games are like, you can play it in 480p or to 720p, and that's like the only options you get. You get homebrew. Right. And then you can go like, somebody's modified or patched this ROM so it works better on PSP, does widescreen, fixes some problems in the game. You know what I mean? Like, people can like patch that stuff in. You get like the N64 version. They do one release. The only reason they would ever patch it is if there was like a fundamental hardware issue or something. You know what I mean? Like, it was something is causing problems in the game, or like there's a soft lock or a hard lock, and they're like, oh, we'll quickly fix that. And then outside of that, they would not even fucking touch it. Like, they're just like, it is what it is. And you're like, but you could enhance this, improve this, add this cool feature. And they're like, no, this is it.
Right.
And I mean, that's money, business, time, whatever. Like, it's all a little, like, that's getting into, like, back into the politics of, like, game businesses and stuff, but I personally would love a Majora's Mask remaster. Like, I want everything from the ground up redone. I don't necessarily want it redone in, say, like, Skyward Sword? No. What's the Breath of the Wild? Like, I don't want it redone in that style, but I want that Majora's Mask, I would love it to be expanded upon. I would love the lore of that game and the storytelling and the, you know, stuff that because like, it's a game that starts in a town, and the town has like 7 loading screens where you walk through like doorways into other areas, which is their loading screen. And it's like, I would love to see that as just one functioning area where you can walk through it, no loading screens.
Yeah.
I would like to see it fully realized. I want Termina Field to be fully realized. I would love to see the perspective they had when they were like, let's put a Goron in the snow temple, like he's invisible and asleep and he's causing blizzards and stuff, and like having that visually realized and not just some copy paste scale up to 1,000% Goron model, because that's what they had. Like, they had a year to make that game from Ocarina of Time, and they did a fucking phenomenal job, and they really like took it, like the storytelling and everything, to the next level. But they also suffered a lot of like, it's still the N64. It's still very limited on the polygon count. It's still very limited on like the amount of stuff you can have going on. And I just would like to see that game more fully realized, just because it's like an all-time classic for me. Because if they did a remaster and it was terrible, I would just go, oh, that's okay. I've still got the original.
Right.
Whereas, like, re-releasing games, I couldn't give a shit about. They're just like, yeah, I've already got that game 10 generations ago.
I mean, I say that as somebody who's bought Skyrim an unfortunate amount of times, but, like, why would I buy that again if it's the same fucking package? Like,
I mean, I can understand, like, I got Skyrim on the PC, and then you're like, I want to get Skyrim on the Switch for the go. That makes sense. That's part of the, like, me wanting to buy the Mario games. I'm like, oh, I like those games. I can have them on the go and on the big screen, and it's a Nintendo Switch, so there I can do both.
Right.
And then that just gives me, like, for $80, I'll probably get my $80 worth. Like, it's not a bad deal. Whereas, like, buying a game for the sake of buying a game again is just not worth it. Like, I don't know. There's this whole nostalgia culture right now with in businesses, and some of them are doing a really great job, like the Tony Hawk's remaster 1 and 2. Absolutely awesome. I've been playing that. Visually, it's fully realized what the Ghost games looked like. It plays exactly the same, but it's realized the visuals of the levels and everything. It's like, this is awesome. Like, this is the game that I love, but it's more visually appealing, and they added features that made the games better, like reverts and jumping off of walls and stuff, which was features not even in those games back in those days. I think Rareware should get their old devs on board and go back to Nintendo and get some remastered Conker's Banjo-Kazooie, etc. So Microsoft, back to Nintendo. So Nintendo doesn't own those IPs at all. Right. Microsoft does, and Microsoft, I think we talked about it a little bit last time, maybe, but like there was like a golden age of Rareware. None of the devs work for Rare anymore. It's all of Rare is just a fucking poster boy at this point. It doesn't even, like, the company's not even the same people, and everything they've done. The only thing they did really well was update Perfect Dark visually. Mm-hmm. I think when we talked about that last time, and I was just like, that looks awesome, and it's like it changed it from N64 graphics to about PS2 graphics, which in my opinion was enough. Like it just enhanced that game enough. But Rare's dead. Conquer is lost to time. Like, unless someone buys out Microsoft, like, Rareware, like, that is gone to time. Those IPs are fucked. Banjo-Kazooie,
my one holdout,
great games, but dead.
My one holdout is that, I mean, Xbox...
Microsoft dies.
They're gaming. Like, Xbox is not... I don't think anyone gives a shit about Xbox. Like, I know people, like, care, and people buy the Xbox, but, like... And I can say this as somebody who like works at like the front line of like the
store,
Like when we order games, like when we expect people to buy something, like the hottest titles that are on both consoles, I guarantee you, if it comes out on both, I will get 20 copies on PS4, and I'll get like 5 copies on Xbox One. Because that's as much as we ever sell. And then we don't even sell out of the Xbox copies. We'll sell out of the PS4 copies, and we had a bunch of them. Like, so it's like from a standpoint of like somebody who sees the consumer market like fluctuate, Xbox has got to like do something to like pull themselves out of whatever fucking rut they're in, because they're clearly like not making it. And like
they weren't doing VR. They were trying to push Kinect, which was just a terrible idea. It was like a kid's toy.
So like
for a console marketed towards grown ass men.
My holdout, my hope, is that if Microsoft fucking screws up this generation and it's the last play, and they're like, we're not making games anymore, our game division is done, the Xbox is done, and all of the shit related to that IP stuff is like, they're like, hey, this is up for sale. Like, and then
and then like Ubisoft 2.0 will come and buy it up.
Well, yeah, you're right.
Something else.
I'm not saying, but I guess also what I'm saying, this is a hypothetical perfect dream world, because because Microsoft is like buddy with Nintendo right now. They're going out of business. Well, their gaming division is going out of business. They're like, we're selling off IPs. Hey, Nintendo, do you guys want Banjo-Kazooie back? Like, do you guys want Conquer back and all that shit? And Nintendo says, hell yeah, we'll buy that shit, and they buy it. And
for $2.
For $2. And then they actually make like a new fucking good-ass thing.
But then,
I don't know.
But that's the thing, that's like a best case scenario. Like, even if Nintendo got their hands back on it, even if Rareware was sold off and whatever, like the original developers, the people who designed and got that nuance in, got the humor right, got all of that, they're not going to be there. They'll never be there again. And it's like,
probably they're too old, or they don't care. They're on to different projects.
Yeah, like Chris Seville, I think his name is, the guy who made Conkers, the director, the guy voiced Conker and everything else in the game. That dude, like, I wouldn't say he's off the rails, but he's definitely more like, he has his own game company stuff going on, and you know, he calls himself, you know, Conker on his like Twitter and stuff, so people know who he is, but he doesn't care about that stuff so much. Like, he's happy that it makes people happy, but he doesn't, you know, it's like George Lucas and Star Wars. He's happy that people like Star Wars, but like, you know, he's doing other things, you know, like he wants to work on other things. Like, yes, Star Wars was his baby and he made an amazing set of films, but he's moved on. You know, like, he wants to do other things. He wants to, you know, take his money and do other things. Like, I wish he didn't, but oh well. I just gonna hold up there, Packer, when it wasn't me who was. I wanted to sell it to Disney and make lots of money. So Skyweaver says, what if they fix the flaws of Donkey Kong 64 and put that on Switch? Like, only one 3D Kong adventure. Again, I think the IP is in like twilight, with Rareware being owned by Microsoft and Nintendo owning Donkey Kong. So Donkey Kong 64 is like oh, you're trying to steal our game. That's our game because we own Rareware. And then Nintendo being like, but Donkey Kong's ours. So it's one of those IPs I'll never touch. I think you'll find that with a lot of things. If George Lucas belongs, a final message on the stream.
The final message.
The final message. So I think there is a lot of like IPs people just need to let go of and move on, and it's like, it's such a shitty thing to say. Like, Star Wars still has some stuff going for it. Will I ever burn out of Star Wars? I think potentially. I think what I would say to people who say, fuck, I wish there was another, GoldenEye remake or something, my word on that would be do it yourself, because no one else will.
Yeah.
And I regret saying that because I've tried doing that sort of stuff and burn out and don't finish it and blah, blah, blah. But do it yourself.
Other people will pick it up from where you left off and just keep going.
Yeah. But that's the thing, though. Like, if I, for instance, just for example, and I'm not going to go for too much longer, Scott's, like, slowly falling off a cliff here. Say, for instance, GoldenEye, Nintendo 64, GoldenEye 64, we want a remaster of this game, it's a classic. No company's ever going to touch that because it's like 10 IPs they got to deal with. They got to deal with you got to deal with what do you call it, like people who own James Bond. You got to deal with the people who made it, like Nintendo, and that's Rareware again. So you got like Microsoft, Nintendo. You got like 3 different issues happening at once there. But if you make it yourself and you do it intelligently. So one thing that people constantly do when they try to do these like remake projects and stuff, they advertise it. They're talking about how much better it's going to be than like some other game developers thing or whatever. Like they're like, for instance, somebody might work on like a Zelda or hell, even the Mario 64 HD Unreal remake or whatever. They go around posting it and they're like, basically start using it as a point of like, what's the word I'm looking for here? Like, hey, this is amazing. Look at what we could accomplish. Hire us, Nintendo. And Nintendo just says, cease what you're doing or we'll sue the hell out of you.
Yeah.
So, like, from that perspective, Nintendo technically can't do that because if you create all that content yourself from the ground up, you're not infringing and you're not making money off of it. You're actually in sort of a gray area legally. I did a huge amount of research into this at some point because of the projects I was working on.
Right.
But my advice is, like, if you want GoldenEye 64 remade, if you want whatever game remade, do it yourself, which can be a very daunting task, but do it open source. So anyone can get access to it, anybody can change it, anybody can download it, so it's out there, like it's like a BitTorrent, like someone seeds, everyone can get it. And then everyone else seeds, who seeds, and then seeds the other people, who then, you know what I mean? Like it just explodes. And there's no way Nintendo could ever shut that down.
Especially
so you set
your basically almost done, like...
Yeah, so you want to make sure your project's in a really good spot, or a good enough spot to do a release. Don't advertise it like crazy. Pass it around by word more so than like, I'm going to advertise this on the front page of a game developer's website. Because that's again, you're just shooting yourself in the foot immediately. And make sure that everything you're doing is created by you, and you made it very apparent that it's been created by you for free, and you're just replicating, and you're not intending to make money off of it. And again, iterating on those points. And then you're in a very legally gray area, and Nintendo, especially if it's like, oh, it's open source, I'm not the only person who worked on it, and it's just available, and it has been forever. People will have it, and people will pass it around. Right. It's I don't know. I don't know why I went on that tangent, but it is that like underlying thing of like, if you want, like I want a Star Wars game that's like Battlefront, but nothing like Battlefront.
Yeah. And
I've always dreamt of like, maybe I should just create, like, I literally was at one point, and this is just a little bit of an insight into my game development, and again, I won't go for too long because Scott's like, please, Packer, just stop talking.
It's almost 1 in the morning.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I was planning on working on a space sim game, and with the intention of setting it up just like Star Wars, so it plays like a Star Wars X-Wing Alliance or X-Wing versus TIE Fighter. Like, it would play exactly like that, but it didn't use any Star Wars content, and it was 100% moddable. So I could technically make my game that did every feature, was modernized, had all the bits and bells and whistles that you would need for a Star Wars game, and then just make it so other people could mod in Star Wars very easily. like, visually change the models to just look like Star Wars, you know what I mean? Like, make it as easy as it need to be. So then you can not only make a game where you make money back off of it, but you also give a platform for people to make, like, a Star Wars mod for it, or a Battlestar Galactica, or whatever.
Like, you have your main page where, like, here's the game, buy the game, and then you go to the mod page, and it's like, for free, fan-made, and it's fan is you, and you're just like, Star Wars mod.
Yeah, I'm not even I'm joking. I was legitimately thinking about that at one point, where it's like, I would do that, create a second Steam account, create a Star Wars mod that was low-key, and then just have it like, oh, it's an open source Star Wars mod. And then just enough to, like, throw in an X-Wing, throw a TIE Fighter, maybe a Star Destroyer and a Rebel frigate or something. And then suddenly you've got just bare bones Star Wars basic space battle, and then anyone can just add to it.
If it was good enough and people picked it up and it became like a streaming thing, like, that could actually be one of those things where we go, hey, we should hire this guy, like, and not a matter of, like, quit reaping off of our fucking IP.
Yeah, but that's what I mean though. Like, it's you're setting being creative with the games you want to recreate. Because, like, I have also been thinking about recreating a sort of Perfect Dark style game. Not Perfect Dark. It was going to go with different sort of thematics, but, like, it still had that fun gameplay. It still had the, like, you throw the laptop gun on the wall and then you can fight bots, and then maybe you fight lots of bots and you do lots of mission objectives, but it's all, like, kind of like the James Bond GoldenEye 64 for your perspective.
Yeah.
Just recreating that, because it's a very simplistic style of game, and then you can just have fun with it, like... Then you can make it mod support, so people can add custom weapons, custom missions, custom maps, make it cooperative so people can play online.
Yeah.
Just all that modernizing it, and to the point where, like, anybody can mod it, anyone can play it, and then you've just created the foundations of a game that will keep itself alive for, like, 20 years. Like,
I guess,
like,
the question is, what's stopping you? Other than time.
Time? Like, it is time, and it is so, like, right now for me, I am fighting myself. Like, I'm moving out at the end of the year. So I'm like, all right, I'm moving out. I'm moving into a place where I'm actually going to be able to concentrate better, or I won't have little dogs and stuff running around like crazy.
Yeah.
And I won't be disturbed by other people, so I actually can sit down and work on some games. And I don't necessarily very quietly have to work because I'm disabled.
Right.
In my country, we take care of our disabled people. Not to say that I could work. My girlfriend's like, you're a mess. You need to sit down. Like, because I get very dizzy and stuff when I walk around.
Right.
I can talk my head off, but, like,
you gotta be sitting.
it doesn't. I'm talking my head off, but I'm easy. Like, I mean, it happens throughout the whole stream where I get very easily distracted, or I zone out and stuff. And when you're trying to do serious, proper work, that's detrimental. Especially driving a car to and fro work. I can't really do that now.
Right.
But anyway, the point being, I don't know why I went on that tangent. It's been a year, guys, since my surgery. Give me a break. In fact, it was about a year since I got out of my surgery. I think it was about 3 p.m. I got out of my surgery.
Nice. There you go.
Which is almost 3 p.m. now. And yeah, I'm in a situation where I can just sit down and work on something. And, like, my girlfriend's put no obligation on me to get work because I have enough of an income to live with her and, like, live financially, not well off, but, like, financially I will get by.
Right.
The computer being my main source of entertainment day in and day out, outside of, going for walks or something. But I have the opportunity to work on things, and the problem I foresee is that I need to sit down, I need to design these things, there is a humongous amount of workload. So if I created, let's just say I recreated, oh my god, dog, please. He's playing in the corner, it's alright, he's trying to tell me to wrap up. It's a matter of sitting down and, like, I could create, like, the foundations of, say, GoldenEye. I could recreate that. I could create the systems with the guys who run around, the guns, the stuff, and blah, blah, blah. But I got to visually populate that game with all the visuals. Then I have to level design. Like, so I could program it and that could take a year, but then it's going to take 3 years to basically for me to, if I was to replicate GoldenEye 1-to-1, it could take me up to 3 years to do that
Right.
by myself. So that's where it's I also do need to try to work on a project that could produce money, because I'm living very minimalistically. And minimalistically, like, I'm happily minimalistic, but at the same time, I won't always be happy minimalistic. I'll get sick of that.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
No,
like, I want to
yeah.
expand. I want to buy a car. I want to move into my own house because I'm going to be moving into renting.
Right.
And it's like, well, I can't save for a house if I'm renting, and I can't buy a car if I'm paying for rent, because that's like the disability stuff. It supports me. It doesn't it doesn't let me live though. Like, it literally just makes sure you don't die.
Right.
That's all it's there for. So I'm always prototyping few ideas here and there. I haven't been streaming it. I want to get back into streaming, but I feel like I need to expand upon some of that stuff where I'm like, maybe I do want to work on like a space battle X-Wing Alliance clone with the mod support. Maybe I do want to work on like a GoldenEye thing, or maybe I want to work on an original idea. It is that kind of battle of like, what do I want to commit a very long time to?
Right.
If I do my own projects, they can be a lot smaller, or they could be a lot bigger. It's not always easy to tell immediately. It's just, there's so much of that stuff where I want to get into it. I really have a great opportunity coming up at the end of the year, and ongoing from that position. But it also just boils down to, I have potentially 40 years of my life to go. Where do I put that time? Like,
Oh God, if that isn't the most millennial thing you've ever said in your life. Boy howdy if I don't feel that in like every facet of my being.
We're nearing our 30s,
Nearing
and
our 30s.
you want to get into like creating films and stuff, and I want to do that too. But I also want to make games, and it's like,
Well, it's funny because deep down I
I
also want to make games on the side, but it's like I know I can't focus on both. Like, I'm really into like 3D art, and like I really want to like do like that side of it, but it's like I can't do both. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no time to do both. I have to pick one or the other, and I'm like, what if I pick the wrong one?
Yeah, exactly. I'm lucky in the regard that I learned all this game development stuff, and it is transferable to film. Film can be transferable to game, but not at the same level.
No.
Like, I know programming, which you don't, which kind of puts a detriment to making a game, but
Right.
I
know bits and pieces. I just don't know the level of like what you know.
Yeah, no, I'm more or less an advanced Unity user. I understand C# almost inside and out. It's just a matter of execution of said code.
Right.
It's more of a time problem than how do I code? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I can sit down, I can make any system you want. It won't necessarily be the most efficient thing, but I can get it done. I have no idea how long it will take me, but I can do it eventually. Yeah, like, there's all that sort of stuff. I've been thinking about, like, I want to create a little TV show. I think I might have mentioned it to you. It was like, I want to create a show that's sort of like VR chat, but except it's sort of it's like based upon VR chat in sort of like a world that we're leading into where a lot of people spend their times in VR, which just then sounds like fucking Ready Player One, but I was going for a bit more grounded fucking perspective on it, and a bit more of a taking it from...
Uh-oh. You're lagging.
the perspective of a game developer, taking it from the perspective of like... Hello?
Hello?
Hacker left channel and disconnected.
Uh-oh. He died.
Hacker connected and entered channel.
I have returned. Hello?
Rest in pieces. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, I don't know what's going on with that stuff. But yeah, I was just like, I want to do this like show thing, and I was like, oh, maybe I could do like 20-minute episodes and stuff. And then I was like, fuck me, how much stuff do I need to create to make like a 20-minute episode or something? Right. And a lot of it has been me just internally refining the ideas of what I want to achieve, and it's like, I can't create a Netflix series out of this. I can't do an hour-long TV show, 10 episodes. I just can't. That's just out of my scope. Right. But I could do maybe a 5-minute episode, and I was thinking along the lines of like Steven Universe, where it's like, it's just, we're in a place, we go here, we do the thing, we go to that place, we do that thing, and then the thing happens, then the episode's over. Like, we're all within 5 to 10 minutes, you know?
Yeah.
So I was like, if I just make it small scale, and then plan out my whole mini series or where the show's going to go, what's going to happen, where things happen, and then I can say, well, I only need to create 10 assets or 10 locations, and then I just make them relatively big so I can just film in different spots. Sort of like a project we're working on right now, which is something I was going to talk to you a little bit about this project, but it's just it's the whole aspect of small scale, but utilizing the tools at hand to make it larger than life.
Right. I was going to say, it's very, very reminiscent of what we're working on currently. Like,
yeah, and that was one of the reasons I wanted to work on that project, because I wanted to learn how much of this I can do.
I mean, so far with what, like, not to get too much into it, like, on air, but, like, so far with what Cowboy, like, showed me today, like, he did that this morning. You know what I mean? Like I opened up my server this morning. We built that this morning, and now it's, like, in the game, and it looks great. Like, you know what I mean? Like, like if we can get that much of a workflow where it's, like, I can build something, and in an hour I have a functioning set, like, that's fucking...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, sorry, I was just agreeing with you. Mike came across a bit weird.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. No, but that's the thing. It's like, for the project we're doing, we have access to a system that lets us construct stuff easily. Whereas, like, if we're going to create an original IP, it's like, fuck, we have to kind of come up with that stuff. Like, you know what I mean? You got to come up with, like, an art style or something that doesn't require a lot of effort.
Just modular.
Yeah, a modular set thing. So, I mean, that's the thing. This is all part of me learning how to do this stuff. So, you know, in 6 months' time, I can just say, all right, dude, I'm making this show. I need a voice actor for this character, voice actor for this character. And it was just, yeah, because, like, I would love to create, like, I don't even need to create, like, 100 episodes or something. I just want to create maybe 5 to 10 episodes, all about 5 minutes each. Mm-hmm. Because then I can create a mini-series of telling a story I just want to tell. And then I don't have to worry about, you know, paying $20,000 to get, like, some fucking actor in to come in to do the job. I can just sit there and go into a microphone, you know.
And that's it. That's
like,
the show.
and the funny thing about it is like, I've been also designing my show idea, which I said, which was like based upon like VR chat and stuff, about a concept of like people in an online setting. So people's voices and stuff like that can sound a little crusty because it adds to what the show is.
Right. The realism.
And it's embracing those limitations rather than, you know, ignoring the limitation, or like saying, oh, we need to do special recordings and stuff. Right. It's like whip open Audacity. You don't need a Blue Yeti or whatever the hell to like do the voice recordings. I just need you to talk into your mic. We'll make sure it's not inaudible, but you know, we can clean it up a little bit, but just enough that people can understand, not enough to be like perfect.
Exactly.
Because people's microphones become a part of people's characters, even on like Twitch streaming and stuff, you know, like, and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up this. I definitely went on more tangents than I had planned to, but I'm glad I did.
Let me turn back on our... There we go. Okay.
George Lucas belongs here.
George Lucas does belong. I'll put him back up just because he's part of this. But, yeah.
I think next week... I don't know for sure whether George Lucas belongs. I'm not sure whether or not we're going to be able to do next week. My schedule is a little bit sort of like it's blank, but it's kind of after a really hectic week.
Right.
So I'll be keen to do this again. I'm sure we'll have a million other things to talk about. I have a lot of subjects I want to get into.
Next time, let's just start with like the list of stuff. Like let's. Not
pick and choose what we want.
Yeah, not that this has been like bad, but the last 3 episodes have just sort of been like let's talk about whatever. And it's been fun. You know, we've had a lot of deep discussions about different topics, but it's like, I don't know, let's pick some stuff that's like a little more on rails.
I mean, yes and no. I enjoy podcasts where people are talking about subjects they're passionate about, because that's interesting. Rather than being like, all right, we're the nostalgia gang. We're going to talk about, do you remember Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
I remember.
Well, I've got a surprise for you guys who remember Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Is this fella? George Lucas created. George Lucas belongs. I may have gone a little far in some places.
I might have gone a little far.
George Lucas belongs, and I've full screened this, and it's not even loading. That's just how.
Loading.
I'm gonna have to replace fucking Windows Photos, whatever the fuck it's called, because it doesn't even load 50% of the time now. All right, and this is him. This means that the stream's over.
The stream's over.
I've been Paco.
I've been Swholli. Thank everybody. We peaked at 5 people, which is cool.
Oh, we peaked at 6.
Did we peak?
We peaked at 6.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Thank you everybody who showed up to the stream. As always, we appreciate all of your support and viewership. You know,
subscribe.
My favorite, subscribe. I also say this too, if you're part of the chat, if you've been watching us, if you yourself have a topic that you think would be interesting for us to talk about, you're always free to like message it to us, like either on YouTube or our fucking, I don't know, find us on Discord. We're probably in a server with you or something. Who knows?
I'm going to post my Discord. I wouldn't say it's not personal. It's my Forefront Discord. I'm gonna, if I could get a link, which I'm really inept at doing. I don't want to clone my channel. I want to get invite people. There we go. Edit invite. I want to never expire. No limit.
No limitations, bruh.
This one. So if people want to join my Discord, I do my game dev. I post when the stream's up. You can also sub to the stream Twitch viewer thing, so you can get alerts only for that. I also do some blog posts on what I'm doing. Maybe I can make a section there for this podcast. We'll see how we go.
We'll see. But again, thank you very much for coming. As always, this is the Swholli podcast.
I love how you always say your name first, and you're like, wait, it's the other way around. Every time. Every time.
Well, it's because I think of my own name, and then I remember that it's not my name.
It's not my name. I remember my name, and then it's not my name.
Memento.
Memento.
Look at that turtle. All right, I'm gonna hit it to the standby thing again. But yeah, it's been fun as always. Thank you again for coming. Goodbye. Do you have anything?
See ya.
See ya. Bye.